Chapter 978 Chapter 978 Complete destruction of the Guardian Guild. After obliterating the Guardian Guild, Michael experienced a sense of relief and newfound strength. With his formidable enemy eradicated, a weight lifted from his shoulders. He hovered above the calm sea, gazing at the remnants of what used to be Hulwick Isle. This marked the second island he had completely decimated, the first being Ithalan. Though the waves slowly settled, the storm continued to rage with unyielding fury. Moments passed as Michael floated in contemplation, his eyes fixed on the once thriving island. Then, with a serene expression, he turned away from the scene and soared through the air, leaving the desolation behind. Several hours later, Michael arrived at the site of a grand castle, its construction still underway. Eve eagerly awaited his return, accompanied by a group of Dark Army soldiers. Their curious gazes followed his every move. Eve, unable to contain her anticipation, approached Michael and inquired, "What happened?" With a calm smile, Michael answered her, "The Guardian Guild is no more." Gasps of astonishment escaped the lips of the Dark Army soldiers. As Michael walked beside Eve, he placed his arm around her neck, a gesture of familiarity rather than an embrace. Together they proceeded to enter the castle, the soldiers trailing behind them, their eyes filled with wonder and curiosity. The castle, although only a quarter completed, stood as a magnificent testament to power and grandeur. Dwarves, renowned for their craftsmanship, were diligently working on the construction, their hammers clanging against stone and metal, shaping the fortress that would serve as Michael's stronghold. The corridors they traversed were a blend of raw stone and scaffolding, revealing the ongoing labor required to bring the castle to its full glory. Dust particles danced in the air, illuminated by beams of sunlight that pierced through the partially constructed walls. The echoes of dwarves' conversations mingled with the sounds of construction, creating a symphony of progress. As they made their way through the corridors, the soldiers' eyes wandered, taking in the meticulous craftsmanship of each detail. The flickering torches cast an eerie glow, revealing glimpses of the tapestries and ancient paintings that would soon adorn the walls. The scent of freshly cut wood mingled with the scent of stone, creating a unique aroma that permeated the air. Within the castle's embrace, the dwarves worked tirelessly, their expertise evident in every stroke of the hammer and every carefully placed stone. It was a place where shadows thrived, secrets whispered, and destinies shaped. The group continued their steady stride, their footsteps echoing against the stone floors and unfinished surfaces. Whispers of anticipation and curiosity filled the air, as the soldiers exchanged glances, eager to learn more about the outcome of the Guardian Guild's downfall. The castle seemed alive with an electric energy, pulsating with the aftermath of Michael's triumph, and the promise of a formidable future. Michael proceeded to provide a concise account of the battle to his soldiers and Eve. Together they made their way to the meeting hall, where his subordinates were already gathered. The soldiers and advisors stood up as Michael entered, showing their respect for their leader. "Please take your seats," Michael gestured, indicating that they should resume their places. He settled himself comfortably on his throne, a symbol of his authority. As he seated himself, Sadie, his trusted aide, swiftly sent a stack of neatly stacked parchments gliding through the air towards Michael. With deft hands he caught them and began reading each page with utmost care. These parchments contained valuable information about the prominent Great Eight clans that spanned the world. In the previous meeting, Michael had requested Sadie to compile the best available intelligence on each clan. As Michael engrossed himself in the contents of the parchments, absorbing the knowledge within, Eve took it upon herself to disseminate the news of the Guardian Guild's destruction to the others present. Shock and disbelief reverberated through the room as the members absorbed the magnitude of this revelation. Whispers and murmurs filled the air, as they grappled with the reality of the guild's demise. Once Michael had finished reading the parchments, he placed the stack carefully on the table before him and directed his gaze towards Sadie, acknowledging her effort. "You have done an exceptional job. Why don't you enlighten our comrades about the details of these Great Eight clans?" Michael requested Sadie to present the information about the clans to the rest of their subordinates. Sadie stood before the gathered subordinates, holding the stack of parchments that contained information about the Great Eight clans. She cleared her throat and began to address the group. "Allow me to introduce the Great Eight clans," Sadie began, her voice clear and confident. "The first on the list is the Guardian Guild, comprised of humans, known for their military prowess and law enforcement capabilities." She continued, "Next we have the Nightshade clan and the Stormheart clan, both consisting of humans as well. These two clans, however, are not as widely known as the Guardian Guild. The Nightshade clan focuses on exploring uncharted territories, such as treacherous oceans and dangerous Demon's Grave. They are responsible for discovering new pocket dimensions and expanding human territories beyond this world. Tiberius, one of the subordinates, raised his hand with a puzzled expression. I've never heard of the Nightshade and Stormheart clans. Why are they not as well known as the Guardian Guild? Sadie nodded in understanding and replied, that's because these clans have taken a different path. Unlike the Guardian Guild, their focus is not primarily on military and law enforcement. The Nightshade clan specializes in ventures that contribute to human prosperity in other ways, while the Stormheart clan wields influence over the economy from the shadows. She continued, the Nightshade clan's endeavors in exploring dangerous realms and discovering new dimensions often go unnoticed by the general population. As for the Stormheart clan, their impact on the economy is far-reaching, as they control a significant portion of the economic affairs of human kingdoms, working behind the scenes to ensure prosperity. Sadie paused for a moment to allow the information to sink in before moving on to the next clan. Next, we have the Water God Hall and the Sea Serpent Hall, both belonging to the Sea Folks. These clans, however, do not involve themselves in the affairs of humans, elves, dwarves, and orcs, whom they refer to as landwalkers. They maintain their own separate domains and keep a distance from the dealings of the other races. She then moved on to describe the Gondolin Empire, which belonged to the elves. The Gondolin Empire, led by Nithrol, is considered the most powerful clan among all the Great Eight clans. Nithrol, the Elven Empress, rules Gondolin with a firm hand. Unlike other clans that rely on military might, she opts for diplomatic solutions and cunning deals in the shadows, rather than waging wars. Sadie paused, allowing the significance of the Elven Empire's power to sink in among the listeners. The subordinates exchanged glances, realizing the weight of this information. In addition to these, we have the Han Torum, a clan of dwarves known for their exceptional craftsmanship and engineering skills, Sadie continued. And lastly, we have the Ironmane Horde, representing the Beastmen, a strong and formidable race. She concluded, these Great Eight clans, each with their unique strengths and characteristics, have played significant roles in the realms. With the demise of the Guardian Guild, the balance of power among the clans has shifted. It is essential for us to understand these dynamics as we navigate the current landscape. Sadie folded the parchments neatly and placed them back on the table. The subordinates sat in contemplative silence, absorbing the knowledge of the Great Eight clans and the shifting power dynamics within their realm. Arya, the Queen of Shadows, leaned forward, her eyes piercing as she addressed Sadie. What should we expect now with the demise of the Guardian Guild? Will the other races take advantage of this void? Sadie met Arya's gaze and replied with a serious tone. Indeed, without the Guardian Guild to safeguard the human kingdoms, they will be vulnerable to the ambitions and encroachments of other races. The absence of a powerful force like the Guild creates a power vacuum that is bound to attract various factions and individuals seeking to fill the void left behind. She gestured with her hand, emphasizing the potential consequences. Human kings and queens will act according to their own desires and agendas, without the guidance and protection of the Guardian Guild. This could lead to unforeseen conflicts, political upheavals, and even territorial disputes among the human kingdoms themselves. Sadie's voice held a note of concern as she continued. Moreover, the absence of a centralized force like the Guardian Guild might embolden other races to expand their territories or assert their dominance. The balance of power that the Guild once maintained will be disrupted, and new alliances and rivalries will emerge. She paused for a moment, allowing her words to sink in. We must be prepared for these changes and the potential repercussions they bring. The demise of the Guardian Guild leaves a void that will undoubtedly alter the landscape of the realms, and we must navigate this uncertain terrain with caution. Arya nodded, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. The subordinates around the table exchanged glances, realizing the implications of the power vacuum and the subsequent ripple effects it could have on their world. After Sadie finished explaining about the clans, all eyes turned towards Michael, awaiting his next command. The subordinates hoped he wouldn't assign them an overly challenging task, considering the immense workload they already had preparing for the Dark Lord's upcoming wedding with Gaia, the Dark Queen. Michael seemed to read their minds as he addressed their concerns. I understand that you have been preoccupied with the wedding preparations, he began. However, we must maintain our momentum. Our next target is the dwarves. They possess great capabilities, and we require their expertise to complete our castle and fulfill our future endeavors. Therefore, we shall begin recruiting the dwarves from Han Torum, Michael announced, directing his gaze at Saber, the newly appointed king of the Nightwalkers. Saber, your mission is to travel to Han Torum and present them with a choice. Either dismantle their clan or face the consequences of my wrath, Michael commanded. Eve, always eager to understand the reasoning behind Michael's decisions, questioned his approach. Why not simply order them to join us directly? She asked. Michael shook his head, his expression filled with wisdom. In the eyes of the world and the Sky Hall, we are still considered evil. The dwarves, I believe, share this perspective. If we were to recruit them directly and they accepted, they would be branded as evil as well. We do not want that. By persuading them to dismantle their clan, we can discreetly recruit the talented dwarves without compromising their standing. Some may view the dwarves as cowards, but many will recognize their decision as a necessary one, especially after news of the Guardian Guild's destruction spreads, he explained. Eve's curiosity remained unsatisfied as she pressed further. And if they refuse to dismantle their clan? She inquired. A sly smile crept across Michael's face at her question. We will ensure they comply. Saber, it is your task to instill the fear of God into the hearts of the clan leaders and make them understand the gravity of dismantling their clan, he declared. As an elder vampire, Saber possessed the prowess necessary to accomplish this intimidating feat, and Michael had full confidence in his abilities. Once we have gathered enough dwarves within our ranks, we shall proceed to the next phase of our conquest, Michael proclaimed, his devilish grin revealing his ambitious intentions. As he finished issuing his orders, Saber produced a parchment from his coat pocket and sent it flying toward Michael. My lord, this parchment contains a comprehensive list of the unique and powerful metals found in our world, along with the most suitable ones for forging your armor. Choose one, and we shall procure as much of the desired metal as you require before the wedding, Saber offered. Eve couldn't help but express her concern for Lady Adelia, Gaia's mother, and her potential absence from the upcoming wedding. She believed it was crucial for Adelia to be present, as it held great significance for Gaia. However, Eve also knew that Gaia had entrusted Michael with the task of finding and bringing her mother to the wedding, which reassured her to a certain extent. Curious about any updates on Lady Adelia, Eve turned to Michael and inquired, Do we have any updates on Lady Adelia? Michael reassured her with a calm demeanor, Azazel will ensure that Lady Adelia is brought here before the wedding. For now, let us concentrate on our mission in Han Torum and the ongoing wedding preparations. As the conversation shifted, Michael's gaze fell upon Arya, the Queen of Shadows. He entrusted her with a critical task related to the aftermath of the Guardian Guild's destruction. Michael's voice turned cold as he issued his command to Arya, emphasizing the importance of the matter. Arya, locate the prominent figures within the Guardian Guild and eliminate them. These wealthy merchants who supported the guild pose a significant threat if they are allowed to remain alive. After losing the guild, they will be eager for revenge, and our enemies may exploit them to fund their own endeavors. Therefore, it is imperative that we eliminate them and claim their wealth for ourselves, Michael declared with a calculated tone. Michael's mind, a wellspring of cunning and ruthlessness, churned with a plethora of plans and contingencies, each crafted meticulously to outwit the forces plotting against him in the shadows. His genius, fueled by a thirst for dominance, allowed him to anticipate their moves and stay several steps ahead. With calculated precision, he orchestrated a symphony of strategies, always considering the multiple outcomes and adapting his approach accordingly. Michael's brilliance lay not only in his ability to devise intricate schemes but also in his unwavering determination to see them through, no matter the cost. His mind, an arsenal of relentless calculation, ensured that he would leave no stone unturned, no avenue unexplored, as he methodically dismantled his enemies and solidified his own position of power. The subordinates watched attentively, aware that their Dark Lord's ambitions were rapidly escalating and that the course of their world was being shaped by his calculated moves. Chapter 979. Gaia's real father. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the Ara continent, a sense of foreboding filled the air as a heavy downpour unleashed its fury upon the desolate forest. Deep within the shadows, concealed by the dense canopy, stood a decrepit manor, its eerie presence amplified by the relentless rain. Within the confines of one of the manor's rooms, the scene was one of desolation and destruction. Tattered tapestries adorned the damp walls, and shattered remnants of furniture lay scattered across the floor. The air was thick with the scent of must and decay, adding to the eerie ambience that pervaded the space. Amidst the flickering candlelight, Lady Adelia stood, her breaths ragged and labored, her body still trembling from the aftermath of the intense struggle that had taken place. Her once elegant attire was now torn and dirt-streaked, a testament to the ferocity of the encounter. As rainwater seeped through cracks in the ceiling, casting distorted shadows on the walls, Adelia's skin glimmered with dark scales, hinting at her true Naga form. Within the shadows, another figure lurked, his presence ominous and foreboding. With each step, the figure emerged slowly, his movements purposeful and calculated. It was Ingram, a being of ancient lineage and formidable power. His eyes glowed with a haunting intensity, reflecting centuries of knowledge and darkness. His features concealed by the shroud of mystery, Ingram exuded an aura that spoke of untold secrets and a malevolence that sent shivers down Adelia's spine. As the tension thickened, Adelia's anger surged, her voice dripping with contempt and hatred. "You cannot enter Gaia's life, Ingram," she hissed, her words laced with venomous defiance. Her unwavering determination radiated through the darkness, fueling her resolve to protect her daughter from the clutches of darkness. Without uttering a word, Ingram dashed at Adelia, continuing their battle. In a dazzling display of power, Ingram and Adelia clashed within the confined space of the room. The atmosphere crackled with an electric intensity as their respective abilities collided, filling the air with a symphony of sparks and energy. Adelia's dark scales shimmered with an otherworldly sheen, her venomous fangs bared in a snarl of defiance. With lightning speed, she lunged forward, her serpentine form coiling and striking with deadly precision. Ingram, his features veiled in shadows, moved with an unearthly grace, effortlessly evading Adelia's venomous onslaught. His eyes glowed with an ethereal crimson, reflecting the sinister power that coursed through his veins. As the room trembled beneath their explosive duel, furniture shattered, sending shards and splinters flying through the air. The walls groaned and cracked under the strain of their supernatural might. Adelia's serpent-like agility was matched only by her venomous wrath. She unleashed a barrage of poison-infused strikes, each aimed with lethal accuracy. Venomous tendrils slithered through the air, leaving a trail of hissing mist in their wake. Ingram countered with swift and calculated maneuvers, his ancient vampire reflexes allowing him to dodge and parry with preternatural grace. Their conflict intensified, reaching a crescendo of power and destruction. The room became a battlefield of chaos and ruin. The ceiling caved in, showering debris upon them, while the floor quaked under the weight of their ferocity. Arcs of dark energy clashed against swirling mists of venom, illuminating the chamber with a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. Neither Adelia nor Ingram held back, their shared history momentarily forgotten amidst their primal clash. Ingram, his movements fluid and swift, countered Adelia's venomous strikes with a display of his own formidable power. With a sudden burst of speed, he blurred across the room, leaving a trail of darkness in his wake. His hands became a blur of motion as he unleashed a series of devastating vampiric attacks, each strike infused with dark energy. Adelia, undeterred by Ingram's onslaught, met each attack with equal ferocity. She twisted and contorted her serpentine body, evading his deadly blows with a grace that matched his own. Her scales shimmered with an ominous glow as she retaliated, her fangs dripping with toxic venom. Between their clashes, Adelia seized moments to taunt Ingram, her voice dripping with venomous mockery. "Is this the best you can muster, Ingram?" she sneered, her voice laced with confidence. "Or are your once great abilities waning with age?" Ingram's eyes blazed with fury, his pride stung by Adelia's biting words. He lunged forward, his movements fueled by a renewed determination. His vampiric attacks intensified, seeking to overwhelm Adelia with their raw power. But she remained elusive, twisting and contorting her body with uncanny agility. Adelia laughed mockingly as she parried his strikes, her voice echoing through the chaotic room. "Come now, Ingram, show me what an ancient vampire like you is truly capable of. Or have the centuries dulled your edge?" Her words were like a poison, stoking the flames of his rage. Their battle raged on, a deadly dance of power and skill. The air crackled with energy as their conflicting forces clashed and intermingled. Adelia, refusing to yield, fought back with a tenacity born of hatred and determination. She refused to let Ingram's attempts to diminish her spirit go unanswered. The room trembled under the weight of their epic struggle, its walls echoing with their resounding blows. Adelia's dark scales glistened with resilience as she countered each of Ingram's attacks with precise strikes of her own. The battle reached a fever pitch, their animosity fueling their every move. But the outcome of their fierce clash remained uncertain, as neither Adelia nor Ingram showed signs of relenting. They were locked in a deadly dance, each determined to prove their dominance. Their fight was far from over, and the room continued to bear witness to their explosive confrontation. As the battle escalated, the room became a scene of utter devastation. Furniture lay in ruins, scattered across the floor like broken memories. The walls bore deep gouges and cracks, evidence of the raw power unleashed by Adelia and Ingram. The air crackled with an electric tension, the very atmosphere seeming to vibrate with their animosity. In a final clash, their combined force shattered the window, sending shards of glass cascading into the night. Like avatars of chaos, they burst through the broken opening, their battle now taking them into the darkened expanse outside the manor. Rain poured down in torrents, drenching them in its icy embrace. Ingram's fangs elongated, his vampiric nature manifesting in all its primal glory. He landed gracefully on the rain-soaked ground, his eyes gleaming with a sinister light. Adelia, her scaled form coiled and ready, faced him with unyielding determination. A smirk tugged at the corners of Ingram's lips, his voice dripping with venom as he retorted to Adelia's earlier taunts. "Ah, Adelia, it seems your years in hiding have dulled your once sharp senses," he mocked, his words laced with condescension. "Dependent on the Dark Lord to fight your battles, are we? How pitiful it is to see you reduced to serving such a foolish cause." Adelia's eyes blazed with fury, her serpentine body poised to strike. She refused to be swayed by Ingram's words, her resolve unshaken. With a flick of her tail, she lunged forward, venomous fangs glistening in the rain-soaked night. As the rain poured relentlessly, the clash between Ingram and Adelia intensified in the inky darkness. Ingram's movements were swift and calculated, a blur of ethereal grace. He darted forward, his body contorting with unnatural agility, aiming to strike at Adelia's vulnerable flank. Adelia, her senses honed by years of survival, anticipated Ingram's assault. With lightning reflexes, she slithered to the side, narrowly evading his lethal swipe. The air crackled with energy as her scales brushed against his outstretched hand, leaving a trail of sparks in their wake. Not one to relent, Ingram unleashed a barrage of swift strikes, his hands a blur of blinding speed. Each blow was aimed with precision, seeking to exploit any opening in Adelia's defenses. Yet, Adelia's serpentine form proved elusive, her sinuous movements fluid and evasive. Adelia seized her opportunity and retaliated, her venomous fangs lunging towards Ingram's exposed arm. The sickening sound of flesh-meeting fangs echoed through the rain-soaked night. A muffled growl escaped Ingram's lips as Adelia's venom coursed through his veins, momentarily impairing his movements. Refusing to succumb to pain, Ingram retaliated with a ferocious counterattack. His fists, infused with supernatural strength, collided with Adelia's resilient scales, sending shockwaves through the air. The impact reverberated through Adelia's body, momentarily stunning her, but her resolve remained unyielding. Adelia swiftly recovered, her eyes burning with an intensity matched only by the storm raging around them. She unleashed a whirlwind of strikes, each one laced with the venomous potency of a predator defending its territory. Ingram, in turn, showcased his vampiric prowess, his movements fluid and unhindered despite the venom coursing through his veins. Blows exchanged in a macabre dance, the clash of their powers echoing through the night. Rain-slicked skin met venom-laden fangs, and the air became heavy with the scent of blood and rain-soaked earth. Each combatant fought with a fierce determination, neither willing to concede an inch of ground. The battle continued to escalate, a symphony of raw power and primal fury. The storm raged on, its relentless downpour fueling their relentless struggle. With every strike, they pushed the boundaries of their physical limits, testing the depths of their resilience and endurance. Amidst the relentless clash of their powers, Adelia's voice rang out, filled with anger and determination. "Stay away from Gaia's life, Ingram," she hissed through her venomous fangs, her words laced with a warning that cut through the chaos. "If you dare to enter her world, the Dark Lord will kill you." Ingram, his eyes gleaming with defiance, parried Adelia's attack, his voice cutting through the rain-soaked air. "The Dark Lord's power is nothing compared to the one I serve," he retorted with a hint of superiority. "I have every right to be a part of Gaia's life. I have protected her all these years while you played the charade of death and disappeared from her existence." Adelia's scaled form coiled with renewed aggression as she launched a furious assault, her voice dripping with fury. "Protected her? You know nothing of protection," she spat, venomous mist trailing behind her words. "You abandoned us. How dare you claim any right to her life?" Ingram sidestepped her attack with an agility born of centuries of existence, his voice resolute. I may have been absent, but my purpose remained steadfast. I watched over Gaia from the shadows, shielding her from threats you couldn't even fathom. I ensured her safety when you chose to disappear. Adelia's eyes narrowed, a mix of anger and resentment flashing in her gaze. You speak lies, Ingram. I was protecting her in my own way, she shot back, her venom-infused strikes becoming more relentless. Your absence was a betrayal, and you have no right to claim a place in her life. Ingram deflected her onslaught with calculated precision, his voice echoing with a chilling conviction. Betrayal? No, Adelia. It was a sacrifice. I did what was necessary to keep her safe. The relentless clash between Adelia and Ingram had taken its toll on both combatants. Breathing heavily, their bodies strained and battered, they stood locked in a momentary stalemate. Adelia's scaled form began to shimmer and morph, her figure slowly reverting to her human state. Her breaths came in ragged gasps as she locked eyes with Ingram, a mixture of exhaustion and fury etched across her face. In a surge of renewed determination, Adelia launched herself at Ingram, her fist charged with raw power. Ingram, his own weariness hidden beneath a veil of unwavering resolve, met her attack head-on. Their fists collided with an explosive force, the impact reverberating through the surrounding forest. The sheer strength behind their blows sent them hurtling through the air, their bodies propelled in opposite directions. With a resounding crash, Adelia collided with a massive tree trunk, the wood groaning under the strain. Pain shot through her body, but it only fueled her anger, pushing her to rise once more. Ingram, too, crashed into a nearby tree, the impact causing splinters to rain down around him. Despite the ache that resonated within him, he pushed through the pain, ready to continue the battle. As Adelia coughed up blood, her voice strained but filled with conviction, she uttered her words through gritted teeth. Gaia has found someone who can protect her, love her, and cherish her like no one else can, she declared, her voice laced with a mix of pain and determination. Ingram, his own injuries evident as blood trickled from his lips, met her gaze with unyielding resolve. No matter who Gaia finds, they cannot fill the roles of parents, he retorted, his words punctuated by a ragged breath. Our absence has left an irreparable void. Emotions ran deep within Adelia's eyes as she locked her gaze with Ingram, her voice quivering with intense sincerity. You had a chance, Ingram. A chance to be Gaia's father, a loving husband. But you chose your lord over family, she uttered, her voice heavy with a mix of anger and sorrow. The rain continued to pour, the steady rhythm punctuating the weight of their words and the depth of their choices. As they stood there, bruised and battered, the cliffhanger of their unresolved conflict hung in the air, leaving their fates intertwined in a web of regret, longing, and the irreparable consequences of their past decisions. Chapter 980. Arya, the assassin's apprentice. In the sprawling expanse of the Azer continent, Arya soared high above the midnight sky, her silhouette a dark blur against the starlit canvas. With an agile twist, she descended through the billowing clouds, the moist mist enveloping her figure as she zeroed in on her destination. Her destination? A private island, veiled in secrecy and opulence, nestled amidst the vast expanse of the ocean. As Arya breached the cloud cover, the private island came into view, a paradise of exclusivity bathed in moonlight. The manor, an architectural marvel, stood proudly at the heart of the island, its grandeur an embodiment of the wealth and power held within its walls. The sprawling gardens were meticulously manicured, vibrant blooms and exotic flora dotting the landscape, while the scent of jasmine and sea breeze intertwined in the air. But it wasn't just the stunning scenery that guarded the island. On the ground, vigilant guards patrolled with unwavering dedication, their steps measured and purposeful. Their presence was a clear reminder that trespassers were unwelcome, their duty to protect the island's secrets unyielding. Meanwhile, airborne guards soared through the sky, their wings beating with rhythmic grace. They acted as vigilant sentinels, their keen eyes scanning the horizon, ensuring that no intruder would breach the island's defenses from above. The island's security extended to the shimmering sea that embraced its shores. Patrol boats, adorned with the mark of Isaiah Markham, cut through the midnight waves with unwavering determination. They sailed with a synchronized elegance, vigilant in their duty to safeguard the island from any threats that may emerge from the vast expanse of the ocean. As Arya approached the island, she observed these security measures, her gaze sharp and calculating. When Arya neared the private island, her mind became a canvas upon which memories of the Dark Lord's teachings painted vivid strokes. In her mind's eye, she heard Michael's voice, resonating with calculated wisdom. Listen closely, Arya, Michael's voice echoed in her thoughts. To evade the guards and patrols, you must become one with the shadows. Use the darkness and your dark robes as your shield. Move silently like a wraith in the night, and let the veil of obscurity be your ally. With the teachings ingrained in her mind, Arya expertly maneuvered through the night sky, a spectral presence amidst the darkness. She deftly navigated between patches of inky blackness, merging seamlessly with the shadows that danced across the moonlit canvas. Below, the guards patrolled with a sense of heightened vigilance, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of intrusion. Their gaze followed a set route, their attention focused on the ground, unaware of the threat looming above. Arya observed their pattern, her sharp eyes discerning a weakness in their patrol route. As the patrol passed beneath her, Arya seized the opportunity. With a calculated descent, she lowered herself closer to the ground, her body becoming one with the nocturnal shroud. She skimmed the edge of the guard's vision, a whisper in the night that eluded their scrutiny. From the vantage point of the sky, she heard snippets of conversation between the perplexed guards, their voices tinged with confusion and curiosity. "What's happening, Johnson? Why the sudden increase in security? Is Lord Isaiah expecting trouble from the mainland?" Their questions hung in the air, unanswered whispers in the night. Arya, like a predator relishing the hunt, capitalized on their distraction. She continued to trail the patrol, exploiting the weakness she had discerned in their route. With each calculated movement she remained hidden in plain sight, her dark form merging seamlessly with the night sky. Her heart raced with exhilaration as she embraced the role of the shadow, ever watchful, ever silent. As Arya carefully observed the patrol from above, her sharp eyes caught a fleeting moment, an opening in the sky patrol's formation. Without hesitation she seized the opportunity. Like an arrow released from a taut bowstring, she descended with unparalleled speed, hurtling towards the ocean below. With a graceful arc, she plunged into the water, breaking the surface with a splash. The island's defenses were not limited to the sky and the land. Hidden beneath the waves, an intricate web of traps and arrays awaited the unwary intruder. Arya knew she had to proceed with caution. In her mind, she recalled another lesson imparted by Michael, emphasizing the importance of meticulous preparation before embarking on an assassination mission. "Know the target location like the back of your hand," he had said. "Study the blueprints, understand the layout, and anticipate any potential traps or obstacles." Arya's training had honed her instincts, and she swam deeper into the ocean, relying on her knowledge of the island's infrastructure. Soon she found what she sought, a sewage pipe discreetly hidden beneath a bed of undulating corals. It would serve as her conduit into the heart of the island. As she swam further, the sound of a patrol boat reverberated above her. Patrol boats cruised the water's surface, casting a sweeping spotlight that danced across the waves, searching for any signs of intrusion. Arya, undeterred, utilized the natural camouflage provided by the underwater corals and plants. Their vibrant hues and intricate formations shielded her from the prying gaze of the boat patrol, allowing her to remain hidden in plain sight. With each passing moment, Arya's resolve deepened. She knew the risks involved, the dangers that lay in wait. But she had been trained to be meticulous, to adapt and overcome. The island, with its treacherous defenses and heightened security, was a formidable adversary. Yet she remained unyielding, driven by her mission and her unwavering determination to succeed. And so she continued her underwater journey, navigating the dark depths, her breath steady, her mind focused. The island held its secrets close, but Arya, the Queen of Shadows, was relentless in her pursuit. With the patrol boat finally leaving the immediate area, Arya seized the moment and swam closer to the island's perimeter. The ominous silhouette of the manor loomed in the distance, a bastion of wealth and secrecy. The time for subtlety had passed, it was time to breach the island's defenses. Taking out a compact blowtorch from her utility belt, Arya's gloved hand ignited the flame. The steady hum of the torch accompanied her movements as she positioned the searing heat against the metal gates securing the sewage pipe entrance. The island's security was formidable, designed to detect any spell casting and trigger an immediate lockdown. Arya's mission demanded precision and stealth. As the blowtorch cut through the reinforced metal, the scent of burning metal filled the air, mingling with the nauseating stench emanating from the open pipe. Arya's determination prevailed over the discomfort, her focus unwavering. The intense heat glowed in the darkness, illuminating her determined expression. With each precise incision, the gates slowly yielded to the force of the blowtorch. As the final section of metal fell away, Arya wasted no time. She swiftly swam into the pipe, the grimy water engulfing her, leaving behind the oppressive atmosphere of the island's surface. The putrid smell assaulted her senses, but Arya pushed through, relying on her training to endure the discomfort. The narrow passageway became her conduit, leading her closer to her target. In the darkness, she propelled herself forward, the sound of water rushing in her ears, as she embarked on a treacherous journey through the hidden underbelly of the island. Arya's mission demanded her utmost resilience. With every stroke of her limbs, she drew closer to the heart of the island, her resolve unyielding. The arrays and runes, lurking in the shadows, awaited any sign of magic. But Arya, the Queen of Shadows, knew the art of silent infiltration, the dance of shadows. As Arya swam through the intricate sewage pipe system, her mind raced with the blueprint of the manor etched in her memory. Sadie, her resourceful contact within the underworld, had provided her with invaluable information. Finally, she reached a junction where the pipe split into multiple paths. Arya selected the one that led to an opening positioned at a safe distance from the manor's watchful eyes. Emerging from the pipe, she found herself in a secluded area, hidden amidst a thicket of dense foliage. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and the faint fragrance of blooming flowers. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, masking the sound of her arrival. The manor, a sprawling structure of opulence, stood proudly before her. Its stone walls were adorned with intricate carvings, bearing witness to its rich history. Towering trees cast elongated shadows upon the grounds, providing pockets of darkness that beckoned to Arya's stealthy nature. Soldiers, clad in dark uniforms, patrolled the perimeter of the manor. Their movements were disciplined and methodical, their eyes keenly scanning the surroundings. Arya observed their path, studying the weaknesses within their patrol routine. The patrol path encircled the manor in a predictable pattern, their steps in synchrony with the ticking of time. Arya noticed a blind spot where the soldiers' gaze momentarily faltered, distracted by the distant flickering torches. It was her opportunity, a moment when their vigilance wavered, providing her with a chance to slip through undetected. The surroundings of the manor were adorned with meticulously manicured gardens, vibrant flowers dancing in the moonlight. Dense shrubbery and strategically placed sculptures created hiding spots for the vigilant assassin. Arya crouched low, blending into the natural camouflage of the foliage, her dark robes providing an additional layer of concealment. With bated breath, she waited for the patrol to reach the critical juncture of their routine. As their attention was diverted, she darted forward, her movements fluid and noiseless. Utilizing the cover of darkness and the intricate labyrinth of the garden, she maneuvered through the concealed spaces, inching closer to her target. As Arya navigated the treacherous grounds, her mind delved into the depths of her training and the knowledge imparted by Michael, her mentor. Memories of his voice echoed in her thoughts, offering guidance in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. "No security system in the world is impenetrable," Michael had once said, his voice resonating with quiet authority. "With enough time and study, one can find the weakness, the chink in the armor. Stay vigilant, Arya, and adapt to overcome any obstacle." Arya's eyes gleamed with determination as she recalled his words. The island's security mechanisms were formidable, designed to suppress cultivation and detect unauthorized spell casting. The fusion stage soldiers patrolling the grounds and the intricate arrays posed a formidable barrier. But Arya was not one to be deterred. She glanced at her wrist, where her trusted companion, the Olympus, rested. The black wrist clock-like device housed a pure arch energy crystal that, when activated, boosted her cultivation to the fusion stage. It was a rare and precious artifact, a secret weapon against the island's suppressive measures. As she continued her ascent, she noticed additional security measures in place. Motion detectors, hidden pressure plates, and intricate arrays further fortified the manor's defenses. But Arya was no stranger to deception and outwitting her adversaries. She remembered studying the blueprints of the manor, learning about a specific weakness in the security system. By skillfully bypassing the motion detectors using her agile movements and exploiting blind spots created by the arrays, she found a path that led her closer to her goal. Scaling the walls with feline grace, Arya reached a balcony overlooking Isaiah's concubine's room. The moonlight bathed her in an ethereal glow as she surveyed her surroundings, her eyes settling on the shimmering teleportation portal, a feature present in every room including this one. It served as Isaiah's ultimate escape route should the need arise. With calculated precision, Arya leaped from the balcony, her body cutting through the air with fluidity. As she landed soundlessly in the room, her eyes darted around, taking in every detail. The opulent furnishings and delicate decor betrayed the lavish lifestyle of Isaiah's chosen companion. Swiftly, Arya concealed herself beneath the closet, her dark robes blending with the shadows. She had meticulously studied the schedule of the maids, learning their routines and timing. It was part of her thorough preparation, understanding that disguise and adopting another identity were essential elements in getting close to her target. A voice echoed in her memory, Michael's words ringing true in her mind. To truly understand your target, Arya, you must become someone else, someone they least expect. Disguises are powerful tools in the arsenal of an assassin. As she waited in the hidden recesses of the room, Arya's senses remained sharp, attuned to the subtlest of sounds. She anticipated the arrival of a maid, knowing that her disguise would grant her access to areas that would otherwise be off-limits. Arya was patient, her focus unyielding, ready to seize the opportune moment and move one step closer to her ultimate objective. As the door creaked open, a young maid stepped into the room, her presence announced by the soft swish of her uniform. Her attire consisted of a pristine white blouse adorned with delicate lace, accompanied by a knee-length black skirt that swayed with her every movement. Arya observed her closely, taking note of her slender figure and the floral apron neatly tied around her waist. Time seemed to slow as Arya remained hidden beneath the closet, her breathing steady and controlled. She waited for the perfect moment, allowing the maid to approach the closet with unsuspecting steps. As the maid drew near, her curiosity piqued by a sense of disarray within the closet, Arya struck. With lightning speed and precision, Arya's hand shot out, covering the maid's mouth to stifle any potential outcry. The maid's eyes widened in shock and fear, but before she could react, Arya applied pressure, rendering her unconscious. Carefully, Arya eased the limp form to the ground, ensuring a silent fall. Arya swiftly shed her dark robes and discarded her assassin's attire. She then meticulously donned the maid's uniform, buttoning it up with practiced ease. The fit was snug but comfortable, the familiar fabric embracing her form as if she belonged. In this disguise, she would move through the manor undetected, blending seamlessly with the other servants. Her transformation complete, Arya glanced at her reflection in the mirror. The face staring back at her held the visage of an innocent maid, concealing the lethal skills and determination that lay beneath the facade. Arya knew that even the most convincing disguise had its limitations. If someone scrutinized her face too closely, suspicions might arise. And those who were closest to the maid, those who interacted with her regularly, might recognize any inconsistencies in her behavior or demeanor. She needed to act swiftly, minimize contact, and remain on the move to avoid arousing suspicion. Echoing in her mind, Michael's words served as a constant reminder. When in disguise, speed is your ally, he had once told her, his voice laced with wisdom. Avoid unnecessary interaction and always keep moving. The longer you stay in one place, the higher the chances of being discovered. Silently, she glided through the hallways, her steps light and purposeful. As she made her way to the rooftop garden, a soldier stationed nearby called out to her using the maid's name. Arya maintained her composure, her eyes darting toward him briefly, her expression portraying a mixture of surprise and feigned bashfulness. The soldier stationed near the hallway called out to Arya using the maid's name. "Hey there, Maria," he said, his voice carrying a hint of mischief. "Looking as beautiful as ever, I see." Arya halted her steps and turned slightly, her body angled away from him. She allowed a small smile to grace her lips, keeping her eyes cast downward, avoiding any direct eye contact. "Oh, thank you," she replied, her voice soft and demure. "I must continue with my duties now. There's much to be done." The soldier's gaze lingered on her, his eyes tracing the contours of her figure. Don't rush off too quickly," he urged, his tone suggestive. "I'd love to get to know you better, Maria. A woman as lovely as you deserves a moment of respite. Perhaps we can find some time to enjoy each other's company?" Arya maintained her composed facade, her heart pounding with each passing second. She carefully avoided turning her face towards him, ensuring he wouldn't catch a glimpse of her true identity. "I'm sorry, but I must attend to my tasks," she responded, her voice carrying a tinge of regret. "Perhaps another time, when we both have more leisure." The soldier seemed momentarily disappointed, but he nodded understandingly. "Fair enough," he conceded. "Until then, Maria." With a polite nod, Arya resumed her movement, keeping her back to the soldier as she continued on her path. She knew that any prolonged interaction could increase the risk of her true identity being exposed. Thus, she focused on maintaining her disguise, ensuring that her face remained hidden from prying eyes. As she disappeared from the soldier's sight, her heart began to steady, and a sense of relief washed over her. Each encounter had to be handled with caution, every word chosen carefully to avoid arousing suspicion. Arya knew that her success depended on her ability to blend seamlessly into the background, remaining elusive and unseen. With renewed determination, she pushed forward, her steps purposeful and silent. The rooftop garden awaited her, a sanctuary amidst the turmoil of her mission. There, she would bide her time, hidden among the foliage, patiently waiting for the opportune moment to strike and fulfill her deadly purpose. Chapter 981. Hail the Shadow Clan. The rooftop garden, bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight, was a tranquil oasis nestled high above the island. Lush foliage adorned the surroundings, with vibrant flowers blooming in an array of colors. The fragrance of jasmine and roses perfumed the air, adding an ethereal touch to the scene. The garden offered a breathtaking panoramic view of the vast ocean stretching out into the distance, its waves crashing against the shore in a mesmerizing rhythm. Arya, concealed behind the veil of her disguise, positioned herself near a water fountain at the center of the garden. The fountain's crystal-clear water cascaded down sculpted tiers, creating a soothing melody that harmonized with the tranquil atmosphere. She knew that Isaiah, drawn to the garden's serene beauty, would seek solace here and momentarily let his guard down. With her senses honed, Arya remembered the teachings of her mentor, Michael, echoing in her mind. Physical training is key, he had emphasized. Adaptability is crucial in an assassination. You must become one with your surroundings, capable of blending in and maneuvering in any given situation. Taking a deep breath, Arya submerged herself in the water fountain, her body concealed beneath the shimmering liquid. With precise control, she regulated her breathing, silently becoming one with the aquatic haven. She waited, her senses attuned, for the approach of her target. In her mind, she replayed Michael's words. An assassin must adapt swiftly to unforeseen circumstances. No situation should catch you off guard. Your ability to think on your feet and utilize your environment is paramount. Suddenly, footsteps echoed on the rooftop, drawing closer with each passing second. Arya's heart quickened, but she maintained her composure, her trained instincts guiding her every move. Isaiah Markham, the man whose life hung in the balance, emerged into view. Isaiah stood tall, his dark complexion contrasting against the moonlit backdrop. His physique bore the marks of wealth and indulgence, with a slight paunch accentuating his muscular frame. His eyes, filled with a sense of self-assuredness, swept across the garden, taking in the tranquil scenery. The stage was set, the players in position. Arya watched Isaiah approach, her eyes hidden beneath the surface of the water. She remained poised, her presence undetected, waiting for the opportune moment to fulfill her deadly task. The air was charged with anticipation, as the moon continued to cast its ethereal glow over the clandestine scene in the rooftop garden. From her hidden vantage point beneath the water's surface, Arya's gaze remained fixed on Isaiah, her senses attuned to his every movement. However, to her surprise, another figure emerged into the rooftop garden, disrupting the tranquility she had meticulously planned for. It wasn't one of Isaiah's wives as she had anticipated, but a formidable orc. The orc stood tall, his red skin a stark contrast against the moonlit backdrop. His muscular physique bore the scars of battles fought, and his face adorned with intricate face paints and tribal tattoos that spoke of his fierce nature. A primal aura surrounded him, emanating strength and intimidation. As the orc approached Isaiah, a shiver ran down the lord's spine, his previous composure faltering in the face of this formidable presence. Isaiah's gaze met the orc's eyes, filled with a mixture of trepidation and uncertainty. The weight of the orc's presence seemed to hang heavy in the air, suffocating the once peaceful atmosphere of the rooftop garden. Arya watched intently, her mind racing to adapt to this unforeseen development. She could feel the tension building, her training reminding her to remain patient and alert. Every moment was crucial, every action calculated. But for now, she observed silently, biding her time until the opportune moment presented itself. The scene unfolded with a sense of unease, as Isaiah and the imposing orc shared the bench, their presence a stark juxtaposition against the tranquil surroundings of the garden. Arya, hidden beneath the water's surface, became acutely aware of the stakes rising. She steeled herself, ready to seize the moment when the balance of power would tip in her favor. But for now she remained submerged, her senses keen, awaiting the right moment to strike. As Arya observed the unsettling interaction between Isaiah and the intimidating orc, her mind drew upon another of Michael's invaluable lessons. She recalled his words, echoing in her thoughts with unwavering clarity. An assassin must always be prepared for their plan to fail, Michael's voice resounded in her mind. The difference between a good assassin and the best assassin lies in their ability to adapt and turn each obstacle into an opportunity. No situation is without its hidden advantages if you know where to look. Arya embraced this wisdom, letting it fuel her determination. She recognized that even in this unforeseen turn of events, there was potential for her mission to succeed. Every challenge presented an opening, a chance to exploit weaknesses and achieve her goal. The rough voice of the orc cut through the tense silence of the rooftop garden, devoid of any sympathy. "We're cleaning house, tying loose ends," he gruffly stated, his words laced with a sense of impending finality. Isaiah's terrified expression betrayed his desperation as he pleaded for his life. "Please spare me." Isaiah's voice trembled, desperation dripping from every word. "I can give you anything you want. Money, power, whatever you desire. Just let me live." The orc's response was cold and unforgiving. "We've already begun the next phase," he declared, his tone devoid of mercy. "But before we move forward, we must close the previous chapter." Arya's heart quickened with anticipation, recognizing the significance of the orc's words. The mention of closing the previous chapter indicated a potential vulnerability that she could exploit. It was a window of opportunity, a chance to strike when their attention was divided. As Isaiah's pleas fell on deaf ears, the scene became a delicate dance between life and death. Arya's resolve hardened, her focus honed on the unfolding situation. Arya's eyes widened in astonishment as the unexpected events unfolded before her. To her surprise, the orc's grip tightened around Isaiah's neck, despite the latter's desperate struggle. In one swift motion, the orc snapped Isaiah's neck, granting him a painless death. The sight sent a chill down Arya's spine, witnessing such brutality executed with chilling efficiency. However, Arya's shock intensified as the orc rose to his feet and uttered the words that reverberated through the air, "Hail the Shadow Clan." The mention of this mysterious clan struck a chord of curiosity within Arya's mind. She had never heard of them before, their names shrouded in secrecy and unknown to her. But the scene took an even more perplexing turn as the orc retrieved a glowing dark crystal from within his pocket. A sinister aura emanated from the crystal, captivating Arya's attention. With a firm grip, the orc crushed the crystal, releasing a plume of swirling smoke that rose into the air. As Arya watched in awe, the smoke merged with the orc's body, seeping into his very being. It was an unsettling sight, as if the essence of life itself was being transferred. And then, just as abruptly as it began, the light of life left the orc's body. He collapsed to the ground, lifeless and devoid of the mysterious force that had animated him moments ago. Arya's mind raced with questions and confusion. The significance of the Shadow Clan and the nature of the dark crystal remained a mystery to her. Yet, she understood that this unexpected turn of events had opened a new chapter in her mission. She would need to uncover the truth behind the Shadow Clan, their motives, and their connection to Isaiah. With a renewed sense of purpose, Arya made a silent vow to unravel this enigma, even if it meant delving into the darkest depths of intrigue and danger. The mission had taken an unforeseen turn, but her determination burned brighter than ever. Arya's heart pounded in her chest as she emerged from the water and rushed towards the bodies, desperate to gather any clues that could shed light on the mysterious events that had just unfolded. Her mind raced, piecing together the fragments of the puzzle. However, as she approached the lifeless body of the orc, a sudden and unexpected occurrence disrupted her investigation. A brilliant, eerie purple flame ignited around the orc's corpse, engulfing it in its otherworldly glow. A sense of foreboding washed over Arya as she watched in awe and confusion. Before her very eyes, the flames consumed the orc's remains until there was nothing left but fading embers. It was as if whatever secrets the orc held had been eradicated, leaving behind only lingering questions. Yet, Arya had little time to dwell on this peculiar turn of events. The tranquility of the rooftop garden was shattered by the piercing toll of alarm bells that resonated throughout the island. The island's security mechanism had detected the absence of Isaiah's life force and swiftly activated the alarm, alerting the guards. Clad in their formidable armor, the soldiers rushed into the garden with weapons drawn and fear etched on their faces. Their voices echoed with shock and disbelief as they beheld their lifeless lord, their shouts intertwining with each other in a chaotic chorus. Amidst the commotion, their attention turned to Arya, disguised as a maid. "Stop. What have you done?" one of the guards bellowed, his voice filled with accusation and anger. Arya's muscles tensed, ready to defend herself against the impending onslaught. But just as she was about to engage in battle, a familiar voice echoed in her mind. It was the Dark Lord's voice, resonating with authority and wisdom. "Don't fight them, Arya," the voice whispered. "Use your teleportation scroll to escape. Live to fulfill your mission." Arya's eyes widened in surprise as the Dark Lord's words echoed in her thoughts. She knew she had to heed his guidance. With a swift and calculated movement, she reached into her hidden pouch and retrieved the teleportation scroll. She activated the scroll, and in a flash of mystical energy she vanished from the garden, leaving the bewildered guards behind. As she reappeared in a hidden location, Arya's mind raced with a mixture of relief and determination. The encounter with the orc, the discovery of Isaiah's lifeless body, and the Dark Lord's message all converged into a singular purpose: to uncover the truth, fulfill her mission, and ultimately bring justice to those responsible. Meanwhile, in the manor of Ingram, tension hung heavy in the air as Adelia adamantly refused to let Ingram take any part in Gaia's life. The room was filled with their icy silence, their gazes locked in a battle of wills. Adelia stood tall and unwavering, her determination shining through her eyes. "I won't allow you to ruin her life any further," Adelia declared, her voice filled with a mixture of anger and resentment. "You abandoned her when she needed you the most. You have no right to be a part of her world now." Ingram's face contorted with pain, his eyes pleading for understanding. "Adelia, I've made mistakes, I admit that. But I've changed. I've spent centuries trying to protect her from the darkness that lurks out there." Adelia scoffed, her voice laced with bitterness. "Protect her? You, an elder vampire working for Dagon, the ruler of hell? You abandoned her when she was just a baby. Don't you dare claim to be her protector now." Ingram's voice grew desperate, his words aching with remorse. "I did what I had to do to keep her safe. You have no idea the sacrifices I've made, the battles I've fought. One day, Adelia, I will make you see. I will make up for everything." Before Adelia could retort, a sudden shift in the atmosphere caught her attention. A powerful force was approaching, one that sent shivers down her spine. She recognized it immediately and knew what it meant. Azazel, the Dark Lord's demon butler, was drawing near. Adelia's heart raced with both fear and relief. She wanted Azazel to arrive, not the Dark Lord himself. She knew Azazel had his own agenda, and she hoped he could be persuaded to capture Ingram without revealing his true allegiance to the Dark Lord. She couldn't risk the Dark Lord discovering Ingram's identity as an elder vampire and the knowledge that he had abandoned Gaia. With an icy calmness, Adelia turned to Ingram, her eyes never wavering. "You will do nothing, Ingram," she stated coldly. "I am about to capture you and send you somewhere you won't be able to intervene in Gaia's life any longer. This is the consequence of your actions." Ingram's face twisted with a mix of shock and anger, but Adelia paid him no heed. She had no love left for him, only anger and a desire to protect their daughter from his tainted influence. Her plan was set, and she awaited Azazel's arrival, knowing that he would ensure Ingram's capture. Deep down, Adelia knew that Azazel's presence signaled danger, but she couldn't risk the greater threat that the Dark Lord posed. Her focus was on safeguarding Gaia's future, even if it meant sacrificing any lingering shards of affection she once held for the man before her. Adelia's mind raced with conflicting emotions as she anxiously awaited Azazel's arrival. Her loyalty to the Dark Lord remained steadfast, and she knew that Gaia was a cherished being in his eyes. Adelia couldn't bear the thought of jeopardizing her daughter's position in the Dark Lord's realm, but she also didn't wish for Ingram's life to be extinguished by the Dark Lord's wrath. Ingram's true identity as an elder vampire, working under Dagon, the ruler of hell, made him a dangerous and potent adversary. Adelia was well aware of his formidable power, one that surpassed her own. She knew that engaging in a direct confrontation with Ingram would be not only futile but also potentially lethal for her. Azazel, on the other hand, was an entity she could manipulate to serve her purpose. As the Dark Lord's demon butler, Azazel held a certain level of allegiance to Adelia due to her high status within the Dark Army. She hoped that by summoning Azazel instead of the Dark Lord, she could maintain some semblance of control over the situation. Adelia yearned for Azazel's arrival, for she knew that he possessed the strength and skill to subdue Ingram. His demonic abilities, coupled with his unwavering loyalty to the Dark Lord, would make him the perfect instrument to capture Ingram without resorting to fatal measures. After dealing with Ingram, Adelia made the firm decision to unveil the hidden truths she had concealed from Gaia and the Dark Lord. Her loyalty to the Dark Lord compelled her to relinquish any lingering secrets, as she no longer wished to keep anything from him. Adelia was determined to come clean and lay bare the entirety of her knowledge, sparing no details, for she believed in unwavering transparency and honesty within their relationship. Chapter 982, Vampire Death Squad vs. Michael I. While Arya and Azazel were on their mission, Ricky ventured through the empty hall. He noticed dwarves diligently working on the ceiling. Parchments and cloth covered various areas of the hall, indicating ongoing renovations. Unexpectedly, in the center of the hall, he came across the members of the Vampire Death Squad, taking a break and engaged in a lively conversation. Ricky couldn't help but feel surprised to see all the elite killers gathered in one place. Normally, they trained individually in different locations on the floating mountain. However, fate had brought them together in this moment. "Look who's here," chuckled Grey Wolf the dwarf, teasing Ricky playfully. Ricky waved his hand in acknowledgement, a smile on his face. "When are you going to convince the Dark Lord to build us a tavern, Ricky?" growled Bear, his deep voice resonating through the hall. Ricky contemplated for a moment, considering the suggestion. "A tavern, huh? It may not be at the top of my priority list, but perhaps I can find a way to squeeze it in," Ricky replied with a hint of amusement. Just a couple of years ago, if he had encountered these formidable assassins, he would have been trembling with fear. But after serving the Dark Lord for nearly 3 years, Ricky had grown accustomed to facing formidable beings. After all, the Dark Queen would give him a stern reprimand if she ever found out he was scared of someone. Suddenly, Spider called out to Ricky, interrupting his thoughts. He turned his attention towards the alluring blonde vampire. "Hey Ricky," she beckoned, her voice carrying a mixture of intrigue and curiosity. "We're having a friendly bet. Care to join in?" Spider asked, her voice filled with mischief and intrigue. Ricky, intrigued by the proposition, walked towards Spider and the rest of the Vampire Death Squad. The members of the squad couldn't help but grin at Spider's invitation. Meanwhile, the dwarves working on the construction project seemed terrified, fully aware of what the bet entailed. Curiosity piqued, Ricky asked, "What's the bet about?" He couldn't help but notice the seductive smile on Spider's face, and he knew from experience that trouble often followed when an alluring beauty like her was involved. After his recent breakup with Olivia, Ricky had decided to steer clear of such entanglements. "We're betting on who among us would have a better chance of defeating the Dark Lord if he had no cultivation power," Spider revealed, her words hanging in the air. Ricky's eyes widened in shock at the audacity of the wager. However, he quickly frowned, considering the nature of the bet. In the Dark Army, conversations like these were commonplace. Even the weakest soldier in the Dark Army harbored the imagination of challenging the higher-ranking members. They were well aware that they would be swiftly defeated if they dared to try, but it didn't stop them from indulging in such fantasies. It was only natural for these elite killers to ponder what would happen if they were to face the Dark Lord on equal terms. Ricky understood that, despite the inherent dangers, such discussions were part of the norm in the Dark Army. "Everyone knows it'd be me," Bear growled in his rough voice, his hand instinctively gripping his trusty axe. His confidence was evident, as he believed he possessed the strength to overcome the Dark Lord. Snake, the expert in poisoning techniques, shook his head and remained aloof from the conversation. He knew his skills lay in stealth and cunning rather than direct confrontation. Besides, being a fox, he was well aware of the vast power gap that separated him from the Dark Lord. Ricky, eager to avoid the discussion altogether, attempted to walk away. However, Spider grabbed hold of his sleeve, preventing his escape. With a seductive tone, she implored him, "Come on, Ricky. Don't be a coward. You can share your thoughts with us. I promise I won't bite." Ricky glanced at the expectant faces of the Death Squad members, realizing they wouldn't let him off the hook so easily. Reluctantly, he replied, "Well, my answer might not be what you want to hear." Curiosity piqued, White Wolf and Elf pressed, "What is it, Ricky?" Ricky took a deep breath before responding, "The Dark Lord, obviously. He can overpower any one of you, with or without his cultivation power." The truth hung in the air, a sobering reminder of the Dark Lord's unrivaled might. The Death Squad members exchanged skeptical glances, clearly unconvinced by Ricky's statement. Bear scoffed and retorted, "You underestimate us, Ricky. Without his fancy magic, we have a real shot at taking down the Dark Lord in a head-on fight." White Wolf the elf nodded in agreement. "Indeed, Ricky. We've honed our skills and trained relentlessly. We're not to be taken lightly. Even the Dark Lord has his vulnerabilities. Spider, the alluring beauty with seductive charm, couldn't resist joining the conversation. She stepped forward, a confident smirk gracing her lips. I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss us, Ricky. My swordsmanship might even rival the Dark Lord's own. I've devoted years perfecting my technique, and I have the speed and agility to match his every move. The other members of the Death Squad nodded, their confidence mounting. Each had their own reasons to believe they could best the Dark Lord. Grey Wolf, the dwarf, chimed in, "Don't forget my mastery of close combat. I've taken on opponents twice my size and come out victorious. The Dark Lord won't intimidate me." Bear flexed his bulging muscles and grinned. "And he'll bring the full force of my strength. With one swing of my axe, even the Dark Lord will feel its impact." Ricky raised an eyebrow, still skeptical but intrigued by their unwavering confidence. He realized that they truly believed in their abilities. Despite his doubts, Ricky respected their determination and ambition. "Well," Ricky replied, his tone laced with caution, "I suppose it's good to have such confidence. Just remember, the Dark Lord is not to be underestimated. His experience, skills, and sheer power make him a formidable opponent. But if you're willing to put it to the test, who am I to stand in your way?" The Death Squad members shared triumphant smiles, eagerly anticipating the prospect of proving themselves against the Dark Lord. Their conversation took an exciting turn as they began discussing strategies, training regimens, and hypothetical scenarios where they could face the Dark Lord head-on. Meanwhile, Ricky couldn't help but wonder if their boldness was fueled by genuine belief or perhaps a touch of overconfidence. Only time would tell if their aspirations would lead to triumph or humbling defeat. "Why don't we have a friendly duel then?" A calm voice echoed through the hall, catching the attention of the Death Squad members. They turned their gazes towards the door, their eyes widening in surprise as they saw the Dark Lord himself entering with an amused smile playing on his lips. Contrary to Ricky's expectations, the Death Squad members appeared pumped and excited instead of being consumed by fear. Their lack of trepidation, even in the presence of the Dark Lord, surprised Ricky. He understood that these individuals were the most skilled and experienced killers, unfazed by mere intimidation. It took more than that to rattle their composed demeanor. Ricky swiftly bowed as the Dark Lord approached, patting him on the back in a reassuring manner. Michael's gaze shifted towards the Death Squad members, his expression a mix of amusement and curiosity. "I must say, I admire your confidence," the Dark Lord spoke, his voice resonating with power. "And I am obliged to satisfy your thirst for curiosity, am I not?" The Death Squad members exchanged glances, their excitement palpable. It was a rare opportunity to showcase their skills before the very being they had sworn loyalty to. Spider stepped forward, a glint of determination in her eyes. "We would be honored, my lord," she replied, her voice steady and resolute. "To have a chance to test our mettle against you would be the greatest challenge we could ask for." The Dark Lord's smile widened, his gaze shifting from one member to another. He seemed genuinely intrigued by their proposition. This unexpected turn of events had brought an air of exhilaration to the hall, as the prospect of witnessing the clash between the Dark Lord and his elite killers loomed before them. Ricky watched in awe as the stage was set for an extraordinary confrontation. He couldn't help but wonder how this encounter would unfold and what it would reveal about the true extent of the Death Squad's capabilities. Little did he know that this friendly duel would not only test their skills but also deepen their bond with their enigmatic leader, the Dark Lord himself. "Go bring Ellider to me, Ricky," commanded Michael, his voice carrying a sense of authority. Ricky nodded in response and quickly made his way to find Ellider, one of the Dark Lord's trusted advisors. He located Ellider in his study, engrossed in ancient texts, and relayed the Dark Lord's request. Ellider followed Ricky back to the hall, curiosity etched on his face. As they entered, he scanned the scene, taking in the animated conversations and the palpable energy that filled the air. Ellider approached Michael, his brows furrowed in puzzlement. "What is going on here, my lord?" Ellider inquired, his voice laced with intrigue. Michael's eyes sparkled with amusement as he explained, "The Death Squad members had an interesting proposition. They wanted to have a friendly duel among themselves, betting on who has the chance to defeat me." Ellider's eyes widened in surprise, his gaze shifting towards the Death Squad members who were now preparing themselves for the impending challenge. It was not every day that the Dark Lord entertained such requests, but he understood the importance of fostering camaraderie and testing their mettle. "I see," Ellider nodded, his interest piqued. "And how do you plan to proceed, my lord?" A mischievous smile danced on Michael's lips as he revealed his plan. "I want you to create an array around the hall, one that will prevent spellcasting. This way they can engage me on fair grounds without relying on magical abilities. Elidar nodded in understanding, acknowledging the fairness of the arrangement. It was crucial for the Death Squad members to have a genuine opportunity to demonstrate their martial prowess without the interference of external forces. "And what about your cultivation, my lord?" Elidar asked, his gaze searching Michael's eyes. Michael's expression turned serious as he replied, "I will suppress my cultivation to the soul refining stage, one stage below their current level, the fusion stage. This will provide them a fair chance to gauge their abilities against mine truly." Elidar nodded in approval, recognizing the significance of Michael's decision. It showcased not only his respect for the Death Squad members but also his desire to push them to their limits, fostering growth and instilling confidence. As the preparations continued and the array took shape, the hall buzzed with anticipation. The Death Squad members, now aware of the magnitude of this opportunity, stood tall, their expressions filled with determination. They were about to engage in a battle that would test their skills, bond them further as a team, and provide them invaluable insights into their own capabilities. As word spread throughout the floating mountain, the sound of hammers and chisels gradually faded away. The dwarves, who had been tirelessly working on the construction, set their tools aside and gathered around the hall. Excitement and curiosity glimmered in their eyes as they joined the growing crowd, eager to witness the impending duel between the Death Squad members and their formidable Dark Lord. Within the hall, Michael stood at the center, a commanding presence that radiated power and confidence. The Death Squad members had taken their respective positions, their eyes fixed on their enigmatic leader. Michael's gaze swept over the assembled crowd, his piercing black eyes resting on each individual momentarily before he removed his sword sheaths. The sound of the sheaths hitting the ground echoed in the silent hall, drawing the attention of everyone present. Michael's dark swords, symbols of his authority and strength, lay discarded on the floor. A murmur of surprise and awe rippled through the onlookers, recognizing the significance of his action. "I will fight without my swords," Michael declared, his voice resonating with a blend of determination and caution. "I don't want to kill you guys accidentally." With deliberate grace, Michael slid off his long black coat, revealing the toned muscles that lay beneath. He then rolled up the sleeves of his black turtleneck, baring his forearms to the eager eyes of the Death Squad members. The faint sound of his knuckles cracking filled the air as he flexed his fingers, preparing himself for the impending clash. Deep down, Michael understood the significance of this moment. It was not just about asserting his power but also about earning the respect and loyalty of these skilled assassins. He knew that only by surpassing their expectations and demonstrating his unrivaled strength could he establish himself as their rightful leader. Thus, he resolved to push himself to the limits, willing to unleash a force that would leave the Death Squad members in awe, solidifying his reputation as the Dark Lord. Chapter 983, Vampire Death Squad vs. Michael 2, Calm Before the Storm Chapter. "Shall we face you one by one, my lord, or dash?" Spider inquired, her voice filled with anticipation. But before she could finish her sentence, Michael interjected with a playful chuckle. "That would be boring and the fight would be over in a mere moment," he remarked, knowing that individually, none of them stood a chance against him. Spider's eyes gleamed with a deadly mix of excitement and venomous intent. Unlike Saber and the elder vampires, who pledged their loyalty to the Dark Lord out of reverence, the Vampire Death Squad had joined his ranks for monetary reasons. Michael saw this as an opportunity to earn their unwavering loyalty through a display of his formidable strength. "Bring forth your best skills," Michael goaded the Death Squad members, a mischievous smile playing on his lips. With that, the battle between the Dark Lord and the Death Squad members commenced. The vampires swiftly closed in, surrounding Michael, their gazes focused and their bodies tense with anticipation. Each member carefully positioned themselves, strategizing their approach. The battle between the Dark Lord and the Death Squad members erupted into a flurry of movement and clashes. The vampires, driven by a mix of determination and desperation, attacked with their chosen weapons, each showcasing their unique skills. White Wolf, a skilled archer with deadly accuracy, notched an arrow and let it fly with lightning speed. The arrow whistled through the air, aimed straight at Michael's heart. But with a mere flicker of movement, he gracefully sidestepped, allowing the arrow to harmlessly pass by. His evasion was seamless, as if he possessed an innate sense of the arrow's trajectory. Grey Wolf, the agile dwarf with impressive close combat prowess, lunged forward with his daggers. His movements were swift and relentless, his small frame darting in and out as he attempted to breach Michael's defenses. But the Dark Lord was a master of anticipation. With incredible reflexes, he effortlessly evaded Grey Wolf's attacks, his body swaying and twisting with an uncanny grace. His bare hands became an extension of his being, deflecting strikes and countering with precision. Spider, the seductive beauty with lethal swordsmanship, danced forward with deadly elegance. Her sword gleamed in the dim light, and her eyes burned with a thirst for victory. With a series of lightning-fast strikes, she aimed to overwhelm Michael with her quick and precise movements. Yet the Dark Lord's calm demeanor never wavered. He fluidly dodged Spider's slashes and parried her blows with the fluidity of water, evading her attacks with an almost supernatural grace. Bear, the hulking powerhouse wielding a long heavy battle axe, charged forward with a roar, his muscles bulging with raw strength. Each swing of his weapon was accompanied by a thunderous force that threatened to shatter anything it touched. But Michael's movements were deceivingly swift and nimble. With an almost ethereal agility, he evaded Bear's powerful strikes, slipping past the swinging axe with hairbreadth precision. The hall resounded with the clash of weapons, the echoes of grunts and shouts reverberating throughout the space. Each Death Squad member attacked with unyielding determination, pushing themselves to their limits. Yet, Michael's evasive maneuvers remained unfaltering, his actions a symphony of fluid motion. His body flowed seamlessly, evading attacks with a blend of subtle shifts, twists, and graceful steps. He relied on instinct and unparalleled perception, anticipating the Death Squad's moves before they even materialized. His movements seemed almost effortless, as if he was one with the air itself. Amidst the chaos, the Death Squad members found themselves increasingly frustrated. Their strikes grew more desperate, their attacks lacking the precision and finesse they had initially possessed. Despite their relentless onslaught, Michael appeared to be untouched, his calm facade unbroken. In this dance of combat, the Dark Lord demonstrated not only his physical prowess but also his strategic brilliance. He exploited the weaknesses in their movements, slipping through the gaps in their defenses with astonishing precision. With each evasive maneuver, he seemed to defy the laws of nature, his every motion calculated and deliberate. As the fight raged on, the Death Squad members exchanged glances, a mixture of awe and frustration in their eyes. They could hardly believe what they were witnessing, the unmatched skill and grace of the Dark Lord, who defied their every attack with nothing but his bare hands. Bear's battle axe whistled through the air, propelled by sheer force, aimed directly at Michael. But in a display of uncanny agility, the Dark Lord effortlessly sidestepped the swinging arc of the massive weapon. Bear's mighty swing missed its mark, and the axe crashed into the ground with a thunderous impact, causing the earth to crack and tremble beneath their feet. A smirk tugged at the corners of Michael's lips as he evaded Spider's furious sword strikes. With a swift and fluid motion, he maneuvered behind her, his movements like shadows in the night. In a surprising twist, he deftly seized two of Spider's arms, restraining her momentarily. His voice, barely above a whisper, reached her ears, too slow. The momentary distraction allowed the Dark Lord to capitalize on his advantage. With a quick and forceful push, he propelled Spider forward, directing her path toward the towering figure of Bear. Spider stumbled, unable to regain her balance, and crashed into Bear with a resounding thud. The impact sent both of them sprawling to the ground, temporarily incapacitating them. Meanwhile, White Wolf, the skilled archer, took aim with his bow and let loose a flurry of arrows. The projectiles flew through the air with deadly precision, aiming to find their mark in the Dark Lord's heart. But Michael's reflexes were honed to an otherworldly level. With astonishing speed, he snatched the arrows from the air, catching them effortlessly between his fingertips. A smile played upon Michael's face as he twirled the arrows in his hand. In a feat that defied human limits, he swiftly turned the arrows around, positioning them as makeshift melee weapons. With a fluid motion he wielded them like short sticks, a flickering blur of motion. In an instant, he closed the distance between himself and Grey Wolf, the agile dwarf who fought with relentless determination. With inhuman speed, the Dark Lord swung the arrow sticks in a devastating arc, connecting with precise accuracy. The makeshift weapons collided with Grey Wolf's head, knocking him off balance and sending him stumbling backward, dazed and disoriented. The impact was akin to a giant felling a sapling, the force of the blow reverberating through the hall. The dwarves, gathered in a tight-knit group, observed the breathtaking battle with wide eyes and hushed whispers. Their comments, filled with astonishment and a touch of dark humor, focused on the appearances of those involved. By the fiery forge. That one with the arrows, he's like a skilled marksman. "Can't believe the Dark Lord caught him so effortlessly," exclaimed the dwarf with a bushy red beard, pointing at the archer in awe. "Aye, and look at the Dark Lord there, swift as a mountain cat, dodging Spider's strikes with ease," remarked the stout dwarf with a braided beard, his eyes sparkling with amazement. "Ah, did you see that?" The Dark Lord grabbed hold of Spider's arms like she was naught but a fly in his web. "Too slow indeed," chuckled the dwarf with a wild mop of hair, shaking his head in disbelief. The sound of hearty laughter echoed from the dwarves as they watched the Dark Lord wield the arrow like a makeshift weapon, landing a solid blow on the head of the dwarf warrior. It was a mix of astonishment and amusement, their voices carrying a sense of camaraderie in witnessing such unexpected antics. "Look at that. The Dark Lord just knocked that gray wolf down like a pup with a toy. Never thought I'd see such a sight," chuckled the dwarf with a massive beard, his laughter rumbling like distant thunder. "Ha, look at that. The Dark Lord's giving Grey Wolf a proper knock on the noggin with that arrow. I never thought I'd see the day," chuckled another dwarf. "I reckon even the vampires must be wonderin' what sort of opponent they've gotten themselves mixed up with. The Dark Lord's got him runnin' in circles," added a grey-beard dwarf, a smirk playing on his lips. "Who'd have thought the Dark Lord had such moves? He's like a dancer, swaying and spinning through the fight," murmured the dwarf with a braided beard, a mix of awe and amusement in his voice. The dwarfs continued to watch, their eyes glued to the mesmerizing spectacle unfolding before them. Their comments, mingled with the sounds of battle, reflected their astonishment and admiration for the Dark Lord's prowess and the relentless assault of the vampire death squad. "He's like a whirlwind, that Dark Lord. The vampires can't keep up. Did you see how he cunningly pushed Spider into Bear's path? A true master of strategy. Ha! I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually rootin' for the Dark Lord. Who would have guessed?" Their voices rose and fell in a symphony of astonishment and camaraderie, their commentary a testament to the mesmerizing spectacle that unfolded before their eyes. The battle between the forces of darkness enraptured them, forging an unexpected bond among the dwarves as they marveled at the incredible display of skill and daring. The onlookers could hardly comprehend the spectacle unfolding before their eyes. The Dark Lord's agility, precision, and supernatural speed left them awestruck. The fight continued, a mesmerizing display of skill and power as Michael evaded, countered, and controlled the battlefield. The vampire death squad, momentarily catching their breath, formed a huddle, their faces etched with determination. The battle had reached a critical juncture, and they needed to reassess their strategy to gain an edge against the formidable Dark Lord. Sensing the pause, Michael's eyes gleamed with a mix of confidence and cunning. "Listen closely," he spoke with an air of authority, pointing at each member of the death squad. "Spider, your swordplay is commendable, but your strikes are predictable. Vary your angles and don't underestimate the element of surprise." Turning his gaze to Bear, Michael continued, "Your strength is unparalleled, Bear, but it can be a double-edged sword. Use your weight and momentum to your advantage, but be mindful of exposing yourself to counterattacks. Grey Wolf, your close combat skills are solid, but you telegraph your moves. Maintain your agility and surprise your opponent." Lastly, Michael locked eyes with White Wolf, his voice steady and composed. "White Wolf, your archery skills are unmatched, but your focus wavers in close quarters. Trust in your instincts, and remember that precision can triumph over speed." The vampires listened intently, their eyes fixed on the Dark Lord as he imparted his wisdom. The brief respite allowed them to absorb his guidance and incorporate it into their newfound strategy. With the Dark Lord's pointers imparted, the vampire death squad dispersed, renewed and invigorated by his guidance. Like a well-coordinated symphony, they lunged forward once more, their renewed vigor palpable in the air. The clash resumed, but this time Michael did not rely solely on evasion. He unleashed a torrent of devastating strikes, his movements fluid and swift, fueled by his newfound offensive momentum. Michael's movements were a blur of calculated strikes and lightning-fast counterattacks. He punched and kicked with precision, each blow delivered with enough force to make the vampires cough up blood. His fists and feet became a whirlwind of punishing strikes, finding the vulnerabilities in their defenses. Spider, fueled by the Dark Lord's advice, unleashed a flurry of sword strikes, aiming to exploit her opponent's weaknesses. But Michael deftly parried her attacks, his movements fluid and effortless. With a swift maneuver, he grabbed her wrist and twisted her arm, causing Spider to wince in pain. Bear, determined to prove his worth, swung his heavy battle axe with all his might. But the Dark Lord sidestepped the attack and delivered a powerful spin hook kick, his leg cutting through the air like a lethal weapon. Bear, caught off guard, was sent sprawling backward, the impact reverberating through his body. It was a display of the Dark Lord's precision and strength, his attack executed with masterful skill. Meanwhile, White Wolf nocked an arrow, drawing his bowstring with renewed confidence. He aimed carefully, seeking to find a weakness in his opponent's defenses. Yet, before he could release the arrow, the Dark Lord closed the distance in a blink of an eye, knocking White Wolf's bow aside and delivering a powerful strike that sent him crashing to the ground. Grey Wolf, agile and determined, tried to outmaneuver the Dark Lord. But Michael anticipated his every move, countering his strikes with lightning reflexes. With a swift combination of punches and kicks, the Dark Lord delivered blows that reverberated through Grey Wolf's body, leaving him staggering and breathless. The battle raged on, the clash of strength and skill echoing through the air. The vampires, fueled by a mix of desperation and newfound determination, fought with every ounce of their being. And the Dark Lord, driven by his own thirst for power and dominance, responded with a relentless onslaught, leaving the Death Squad members battered and bloodied in his wake. The battle within the hall reached its climax as Michael, fueled by a combination of skill, speed, and the hunger for victory, unleashed a series of deadly attacks. His movements were a blur of calculated strikes, each blow delivered with precision and bone-crushing force. Spider, despite her vampiric agility, was unable to evade the Dark Lord's relentless assault. With a swift, spinning kick, Michael struck her temple, causing her to stagger backward. As she struggled to regain her balance, he swiftly closed in, his fist connecting with her jaw in a devastating uppercut. The sickening sound of bones cracking echoed through the hall as Spider's body flew backward, crashing into a nearby pillar. Blood trickled from her mouth as her eyes rolled back, and she succumbed to unconsciousness. Bear, known for his formidable strength, swung his heavy battle axe with all his might, aiming for Michael's midsection. But the Dark Lord's reflexes were unmatched. With inhuman speed, he sidestepped the attack, swiftly ducking under Bear's guard. In a lightning-fast motion, Michael's fist collided with Bear's sternum, the impact resonating throughout the hall. Bear let out a guttural cough, blood spraying from his lips, before crumpling to the ground, unconscious and defeated. White Wolf, his quiver empty and his bow discarded, attempted a desperate strike, his clawed fingers aimed at the Dark Lord's throat. But Michael was quicker. He swiftly sidestepped the attack, seizing White Wolf's arm in a vice-like grip. With a vicious twist, the sound of snapping bones filled the air. White Wolf's howl of agony was cut short as he collapsed to the ground, his body racked with pain and unconsciousness enveloping him. Grey Wolf, the nimble dwarf known for his agility, tried to outmaneuver the Dark Lord's attacks. But Michael's movements were too swift, too precise. In a whirlwind of strikes, he relentlessly assaulted Grey Wolf, delivering powerful blows that left him reeling. The sound of impact reverberated through the hall as Michael's fists collided with Grey Wolf's body, each blow accompanied by a sickening crunch. Blood sprayed from Grey Wolf's mouth, and his legs buckled beneath him as he crumpled to the ground, defeated and unconscious. Despite the vampire's innate ability to heal, the force behind Michael's attacks had overcome even their supernatural resilience. The combination of his speed, skill, and sheer power had rendered them incapable of rising to their feet. The hall fell silent, save for the heavy panting of the defeated vampires and the echoes of bones cracking. Victory belonged to the Dark Lord as he stood amidst the fallen, the embodiment of dominance and relentless power. Chapter 984, Another Great Clan Down I, Calm Before the Storm Chapter. After a few minutes, the members of the Vampire Death Squad stood before Michael, their expressions transformed with newfound respect. Even the once boisterous and unrestrained Bear remained silent, his eyes fixed on the Dark Lord. They realized that what they had experienced was not a true battle, but rather a friendly duel, and their minds wandered to the unimaginable consequences if they had faced the Dark Lord in a real fight. Each member understood that Michael had deliberately held back during their encounter. Otherwise, they would have met their demise within seconds. The weight of this realization settled upon them, leaving them in awe of the Dark Lord's power and restraint. Michael's gaze shifted across the members of the Vampire Death Squad, his voice carrying a tone of encouragement. "Do not be disheartened by this defeat," he began, his words resonating with conviction. "In fact, it is through more training and real-life battles that you can truly become perfect killing machines. Remember, strength is not solely measured by victory, but by the determination to improve." A brief pause hung in the air before Michael continued, his eyes gleaming with a sense of purpose. After my wedding with Gaia, I will dedicate more time to your training. I will help you unlock your full potential and hone your skills to perfection. Together we will become a force to be reckoned with." He then offered a word of caution, his voice filled with wisdom. "However, let me remind you that overconfidence can be a deadly flaw. Never allow your confidence to blind you. Stay vigilant, stay focused, and channel your strength with precision." The members of the Vampire Death Squad stood silently, their nods expressing their understanding and gratitude for the Dark Lord's guidance. They knew that under his tutelage, they had the opportunity to transcend their current limitations and become formidable warriors. Saber hovered in the sky above the kingdom of Dalgarum, his gaze fixed upon the sprawling headquarters of the Han Torum clan. The clan's stronghold, nestled in the heart of Ar, boasted an impressive dwarven architecture. Tall and majestic, it was crafted from dark gray stones, lending an air of strength and fortitude to its formidable presence. As nightfall approached, Saber patiently awaited his moment to infiltrate the clan. The dwarves, though lacking in cultivation power compared to other races, compensated for it with their mastery of unique and deadly weapons. The dwarf guards patrolled the clan, their watchful eyes scanning for any signs of intrusion. Hidden from their sight, Saber surveyed the scene from above, taking note of the various weapons carefully positioned around the clan. Each weapon exuded an aura of power and danger, a testament to the dwarves' expertise in forging formidable tools of combat. While Saber possessed the power to swiftly eliminate the dwarf guards and their deadly weapons if given the order, his current mission demanded a different approach. He had been tasked by the Dark Lord to infiltrate the Han Torum clan, reaching the clan heads with a crucial ultimatum. Their fate hung in the balance, for they had just 4 days to make a difficult choice: dismantle their revered clan or face the wrath of the Dark Lord. Saber's objective extended beyond mere destruction. He was to ensure that the clan leaders chose the path of dismantlement, allowing the Dark Lord to recruit the talented dwarves within their ranks secretly. His loyalty bound him to these orders, and he understood the larger strategic implications of such a move. Saber's mission was not solely about sowing chaos and leaving behind a trail of corpses, but rather to manipulate the clan's destiny to align with the Dark Lord's grand designs. As the dwarves continued their patrol around the majestic, dark gray stone-clad clan building, their conversation took a turn towards recent events. The destruction of the Guardian Guild by the Dark Lord became the topic of their discussion, and laughter filled the air. "Did you hear about the Alpha Guardians?" chuckled one dwarf, shaking his head in disbelief. "They were supposed to be the epitome of strength, but they didn't stand a chance against the Dark Lord." "Yeah, it's hilarious." Another dwarf joined in, his voice brimming with amusement. "That demon butler of his warned them, gave them 2 whole days to dismantle their precious Guardian Guild. And what did they do? Stay put like a bunch of foolish humans." The dwarves burst into raucous laughter, their hearty guffaws echoing through the night. They couldn't comprehend the audacity of the Guardians, who believed they could actually defeat the Dark Lord. "I bet they thought they were invincible," a dwarf jeered, wiping away tears of mirth. "But look at what happened to Holwick Island. The Dark Lord's spells shattered it into pieces and sent it sinking to the depths. And that ethereal 2-headed dragon he fought," another dwarf chimed in, his voice filled with mockery. "They probably thought it was their savior, but the Dark Lord proved them wrong. He slayed it with ease." The dwarves continued their patrol, relishing in their laughter and the perceived superiority they felt over the fallen guardians. Their taunting remarks painted a picture of arrogance and disdain for those who dared challenge the might of the Dark Lord. As the dwarves reveled in their laughter and mockery, their amusement seemed boundless. Their jokes and banter flowed freely, further fueling their sense of superiority. "Those guardians, I tell ya, they must have rocks for brains," chuckled one dwarf, slapping his knee. "Who in their right mind challenges the Dark Lord and thinks they'll come out on top? Ah, humans," another dwarf chimed in, shaking his head in mock pity. "They always think strength in numbers will save them. But little do they realize, it just gives the Dark Lord more targets to crush." Laughter erupted once again, accompanied by a chorus of jests and jibes. "They're like ants marching to their own demise," a dwarf exclaimed, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Instead of using their brains to escape, they gather their little army for the Dark Lord's entertainment." "And what's with their so-called intelligence?" quipped another dwarf, feigning confusion. "They claim to be the smartest race, but when it comes to facing the Dark Lord, they're nothing more than bumbling fools." The dwarves shared boisterous laughter, their voices blending in a symphony of amusement. They reveled in their perceived intellectual superiority over the humans, mocking their choices and decisions. They thought they could defeat the Dark Lord. One dwarf exclaimed between fits of laughter. But instead they became fodder for his power. It's almost too easy. The jovial banter continued, the dwarves relishing in their own wit and humor, unaware of the looming ultimatum the Dark Lord had sent them to deliver. Saber, perched high above the dwarven clan, carefully observed the patterns of their patrols. He analyzed their routes, noting the areas they frequented and the blind spots they might overlook. It was essential for him to find a gap in their vigilance that would allow him to infiltrate the clan undetected. As his sharp eyes scanned the dwarves below, he discovered a blind spot in their patrol route, a narrow alley tucked between two towering structures. It was a secluded path, hidden from direct view, where the dwarves seldom ventured. Saber realized that this blind spot would be his key to accessing the clan building without raising the guard's suspicions. With stealth and precision, Saber descended from his hidden vantage point and glided towards the designated blind spot. The narrow alley was shrouded in darkness, providing the perfect cover for his clandestine entry. He moved swiftly, his steps soundless, and disappeared into the shadows. Meanwhile, as Saber maneuvered through the hidden alley, a brief moment of uncertainty arose among the patrolling dwarves. One dwarf, a hint of suspicion in his voice, turned to his companion and asked, "Did you feel something strange just now? A presence, perhaps?" His companion, slightly inebriated from a night of revelry, scoffed and brushed off the inquiry. "Ah, you've had one too many, my friend," he retorted with a chuckle. "No one would be foolish enough to challenge our clan. It's just your imagination playing tricks on you." The doubtful dwarf shrugged, convinced by his companion's dismissal. They continued their patrol, unaware that a skilled infiltrator had slipped past them and was now lurking within the heart of their clan. Saber, utilizing the blind spot to his advantage, pressed on with his mission, remaining undetected by the oblivious dwarven guards. Saber, hidden in the shadows, couldn't help but chuckle softly at the dwarves' arrogance and mockery towards the humans. "Oh, my dear dwarves," he whispered to himself, "you call them foolish while you struggle to perform your own duties with precision." Inside the majestic clan building, the atmosphere was a testament to the dwarves' meticulous craftsmanship. Elaborate stone arches adorned the corridors, leading to grand halls adorned with intricate carvings and elegant tapestries. Saber's eyes gleamed with a mix of admiration and determination as he navigated through the labyrinthine structure. His ultimate destination was the power room, the heart of the clan's operations. The dwarves had devised intricate mechanisms powered by the stored energy they absorbed from the sun through specialized grids. Saber knew that by cutting off this source of power, he could plunge the clan into darkness, effectively creating the cover he needed to locate the clan heads. Moving silently and blending seamlessly with the dark corners, Saber made his way through the bustling corridors. The dwarves carried on with their daily routines, unaware of the shadowy figure weaving through their midst. Guards stood watch at strategic points, their eyes scanning for any signs of intrusion, but Saber's supernatural grace and stealth rendered him virtually invisible. Following his mental map of the clan's layout, Saber took advantage of hidden passages and secret stairwells, bypassing guard stations without a hint of detection. The air hummed with the energy of the dwarves' industriousness, yet Saber's presence remained concealed as he drew closer to his destination. Finally, after traversing a series of dimly lit corridors and descending a spiraling staircase, Saber reached the power room. The room was bathed in an eerie glow emanating from the intricate machinery and arrays of energy cells. With deliberate precision, he assessed the mechanisms and identified the crucial power source that needed to be severed. As Saber opened the door to the power room, he was greeted by a sight that left the dwarves inside utterly shocked. Their eyes widened in disbelief, and their voices caught in their throats as they beheld the unexpected intruder standing before them. "By the beards of our ancestors," one dwarf exclaimed, his voice tinged with fear and surprise. "What in hell is going on?" another dwarf stammered, struggling to comprehend the sudden intrusion. However, before they could gather their wits or raise the alarm, Saber sprang into action with inhuman speed and precision. With lightning-fast strikes, he incapacitated each dwarf, rendering them unconscious with swift and powerful blows. The room was filled with the thud of bodies hitting the floor, their futile attempts at resistance halted by the superior prowess of the elder vampire. The dwarves, known for their resilience and tenacity, stood no chance against Saber's supernatural abilities. His movements were a blur of speed and grace as he swiftly neutralized each dwarf with calculated strikes. The clash of his strikes against their bodies reverberated through the room, echoing the dominance of the intruder. Within moments, the power room fell into an eerie silence, disrupted only by the unconscious forms of the dwarves strewn across the floor. Saber stood amidst them, his chest rising and falling with controlled breaths, his eyes scanning the room for any signs of further disturbance. As Saber surveyed the power room, his gaze fell upon the intricate mechanism that powered the entire clan building. Golden tablets adorned the contraption, their engraved runes pulsating with energy. He knew that disabling this mechanism would not only plunge the room into darkness but also cut off the power supply to the entire building. With a resolute expression, Saber approached the mechanism, his movements graceful yet purposeful. He studied the interlocking gears, the delicate wiring, and the intricate channels that carried the energy. In a display of raw strength, he ripped apart a section of the mechanism, causing sparks to shower the room in a mesmerizing display. But disabling the mechanism entirely required more than just brute force. Saber drew upon his ancient knowledge and honed instincts to identify the vulnerable points within the system. With calculated precision, he unleashed a series of powerful punches, targeting specific junctions and conduits, severing their connections with resounding cracks. As each blow landed, the room trembled, echoing the impact of Saber's strikes. The once steady hum of energy faded into a dull silence, accompanied by the fading glow of the golden tablets. The power room, now marred by the wreckage of the disabled mechanism, was cast into darkness as the lights flickered and died. The power to the entire clan building had been severed, ensuring that Saber's presence would remain shrouded in shadows as he continued his mission. With the darkness as his ally, he would now navigate the vast halls and corridors, seeking out the clan heads and delivering the Dark Lord's ultimatum. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit chamber, a group of old dwarves gathered around a large oak table, their weathered faces illuminated by the soft glow of cigar embers. Wisps of smoke curled in the air as they deliberated on the best course of action to seize the opportunity presented by the destruction of the Guardian Guild. "We've been given a rare chance here, lads," one grizzled dwarf with a long white beard spoke with a deep, rumbling voice. "With the Guardians scattered, we can expand our influence and claim what's rightfully ours." "Aye," another dwarf chimed in, his voice tinged with a touch of greed. "The resources, the territories. It's all ripe for the taking. We must strike while the iron is hot." As they plotted and debated their next move, their grand hall suddenly flickered with an unsettling glow, causing the chandeliers above them to tremble before plunging into darkness. The room echoed with the grumbles and curses of the dwarves, their frustration palpable. "Blast those imbeciles in the power room," one dwarf growled, his hand pounding on the table. "How many times have we told them to keep the lights on?" Amidst their collective vexation, the heavy wooden doors of the chamber creaked open, revealing a figure standing in the threshold. Shadows danced upon the walls as the dim light from the hallway cast an ethereal glow upon the mysterious intruder. The dwarves squinted, their eyes adjusting to the darkness, and they vaguely made out the figure's silhouette, holding two other dwarves by the hand. The captives appeared unconscious, their forms limp and lifeless. "What in the depths is this?" one dwarf exclaimed, his voice filled with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The figure stepped forward, revealing a tall and imposing presence. His gaze, piercing and intense, seemed to cut through the darkness. The dwarf's eyes widened with a mixture of surprise and unease as they recognized the figure as Saber, the enigmatic intruder. Saber's voice, dripping with quiet authority, broke the silence. "Gentlemen, it seems there has been a change of plans. The Dark Lord demands your attention." His tone held an undeniable weight, leaving the dwarves captivated by a mixture of fear and curiosity. The old dwarves exchanged uncertain glances, their minds racing to comprehend the sudden turn of events. They knew they stood in the presence of a formidable adversary, and their instincts warned them to tread cautiously. As Saber stood there, the captive still held in his grip, the grand hall remained enveloped in darkness. The flickering glow of extinguished candles and the lingering scent of cigar smoke filled the air, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. The dwarves, their voices momentarily silenced, awaited Saber's next move, unsure of what fate awaited them under the command of the Dark Lord's emissary. Chapter 985. Another great clan down. Saber strode confidently into the room, his eyes scanning the dwarves as he locked the door behind him. In response, the dwarves sprang into action, rushing to the side of the room where their weapons were kept. Each dwarf retrieved a formidable warhammer or war axe, weapons that were nearly as tall as they were. Their determined expressions masked the fear that flickered within their eyes, a fear they couldn't fully conceal. A faint chuckle escaped Saber's lips as he surveyed the sight before him. The image of these stout dwarves, with their long beards and sturdy frames, standing defiantly against him, amused him greatly. Yet, beneath his amusement, Saber could sense the deep-rooted apprehension that gripped the dwarves. They understood the overwhelming power he possessed, and it haunted their every thought. "What does the Dark Lord want?" One of the dwarf leaders spoke up, his voice laced with a mixture of defiance and desperation, hoping to delay the inevitable confrontation. But deep down, the dwarves knew there was no reinforcement that could match the might of this death angel sent by the Dark Lord. "You know what the Dark Lord wants, dwarves?" Saber replied, his voice carrying a chilling undertone. A devilish grin played upon his lips, as he relished the fear that washed over the dwarves. "The Dark Lord has given you 4 days to dismantle your clan. Should you choose to defy his will, you will witness the true extent of the Dark Lord's power." The dwarves trembled involuntarily, their minds unable to shake off the tales of the Dark Lord's devastation. They had heard the rumors, the accounts of how he effortlessly obliterated the Guardian Guild, an organization far superior to their own in terms of raw cultivation power. The dwarves had established their clan with the sole purpose of toppling the Elven Empress and her empire, never intending to engage the Dark Lord directly. They were fully aware of their own limitations when it came to facing such a formidable foe. However, the audacity of the Dark Lord's focus on their clan infuriated them, stoking a fiery determination within their hearts. Though fear and anger mingled within them, the dwarves understood that their options were limited. The choice before them was stark: dismantle their clan and potentially spare themselves from the Dark Lord's wrath, or defiantly challenge fate and face the full force of his fury. "Why the bloody hell is he targeting our clan? We haven't done a damn thing to provoke the Dark Lord," growled another dwarf, his frustration echoing through the hall. Saber, his hands clasped behind his back, began to pace slowly in a circle, his eyes fixed on the dwarves before him. The air crackled with tension as he spoke, his voice laced with a calm but undeniable authority. "The Dark Lord has granted you 4 days for a reason. Understand this: the great 8 clans will all crumble under the weight of the Dark Lord's power, one way or another," Saber explained, his words carrying a weight of truth that settled upon the dwarves like a heavy burden. "You dwarves are not foolish. You've heard the tales of what befell the Guardian Guild. No one is coming to save you. Spare yourselves the bloodshed and dismantle your clan." A silent understanding passed between the dwarves, their gazes meeting and reflecting the fear that simmered within each of them. They knew that survival and the opportunity to plot the downfall of the Elven Empire were of paramount importance. To foolishly face the wrath of the Dark Lord would be to seal their own demise. "Is the Dark Lord targeting Gondolin as well?" questioned another dwarf, their curiosity momentarily breaking through the tense atmosphere. The dwarves' deep-rooted animosity towards the Elven Empire burned brightly, even in the face of their current predicament. "He is," Saber replied, his voice tinged with a hint of indifference. "But your primary concern should be your own fate, dwarves. The Dark Lord merely wishes for the dismantling of your clan. He won't impede your pursuit of vengeance against the elves. His aim is to eradicate the great 8 clans altogether." A contemplative silence settled over the room as the dwarves absorbed Saber's words. Their minds churned with thoughts of the looming threat, their hatred for the Elven Empire intertwined with the knowledge that the Dark Lord's power was not to be underestimated. "The Dark Lord may think he's invincible, but mark my words, lad, he cannot win against the Sky Hall," spoke the oldest dwarf, his voice carrying a sense of wisdom acquired over countless years. Saber's laughter echoed through the hall, a sound filled with amusement and something far colder. Where was the Sky Hall when the Dark Lord decimated the Guardian Guild? If you expect the Sky Hall to come to your aid, you'll be sorely disappointed. Besides, his tone turned solemn, his words laden with an air of finality, the Dark Lord has already won. This is just maintenance. A mix of resignation and defiance flickered in the dwarves' eyes as they grappled with the harsh reality of their situation. The weight of their decision pressed heavily upon them, as they contemplated whether to dismantle their cherished clan or risk annihilation at the hands of the Dark Lord. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the distant echoes of their own thoughts as they wrestled with the dire choices that lay before them. "Can we trust the Dark Lord's word that he won't attack us once we dismantle the clan?" questioned the oldest dwarf, resignation etched into his weathered face. It seemed there was no escape from their current predicament. Saber's gaze remained steady as he locked eyes with the aged dwarf, his voice calm but laced with an underlying intensity. "The Dark Lord is not one to break his word, dwarf. If he desired your destruction, it would have already been swift and merciless. Coming to a halt, Saber regarded the dwarves before him, their expressions a mix of trepidation and begrudging acceptance. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy as they contemplated their options and the inevitable sacrifices they would have to make. "The Dark Lord has another request, dwarves," Saber continued, his voice carrying a note of calculation. "He seeks access to the abundant mines and metal reserves you possess. He requires the necessary metals to forge armor for his growing army. I know that this proposition may appear burdensome, but consider it a small price to pay in the grand scheme of things." The oldest dwarf scoffed, a hint of frustration coloring his tone. "So, he wants to extort us as well?" Saber's silence spoke volumes, his deadly gaze fixated on the questioning dwarf. The air seemed to thicken with tension, causing the dwarf to wither under Saber's piercing stare. The others, realizing the gravity of the situation, exchanged uneasy glances and murmured in agreement. "It seems we have little choice but to comply," another dwarf reluctantly admitted, voicing the sentiment shared by the rest of the clan. "We can't stop you, but for the love of the mountain, don't clean us out entirely," added another dwarf, the frustration in his voice tinged with resignation. Saber's smile returned, though its edges held a touch of menace. Clapping his hands together, he exuded an air of twisted satisfaction. "Now, if you would be so kind as to lead me to your vault, I will gather the necessary metals and leave you to make your fateful decision," Saber proclaimed, his voice carrying a mix of authority and a dark sense of finality. The dwarves led Saber to the center of the grand hall, where a round table stood adorned with various intricate carvings. Each dwarf removed a unique ring from their fingers, placing it carefully into a hollowed-out space in front of their seat. As the rings settled into their designated places, a brilliant glow emitted from each one, casting a radiant light across the room. To the astonishment of the dwarves, the round table split open with a low rumble, revealing a hidden staircase leading downward into the depths of the earth. The steps were hewn from sturdy stone, illuminated by soft torchlight that flickered eerily in the dimly lit underground path. With trepidation mingling with a glimmer of hope, the dwarves embarked on the descent, Saber following closely behind. His presence brought a modicum of reassurance as he spoke in a steady voice, attempting to calm their anxieties. "Fear not, dwarves. The Dark Lord does not covet your treasures. His focus lies on the metals needed for his army's armors and swords," Saber explained, his tone carrying a note of sincerity. The dwarves exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued as they navigated the winding path. One of the dwarves, his voice laden with concern, broke the silence. "We've heard rumors, tales of the Dark Lord taking many of our kin and forcing them to build his grand castle. Are these rumors true?" Saber's laughter rang through the cavernous space, bouncing off the stone walls. "Slaves, you say? Oh, how the rumors can twist and turn. Let me enlighten you, my dear dwarves. Those who have joined the Dark Lord's construction projects are far from being slaves. They receive a handsome sum of gold coins for their services every month, and their nights are filled with joyful drink parties." The dwarves stopped in their tracks, their eyes widening in disbelief. The notion that their kin were not mere slaves but rather well-compensated workers and revelers shook their preconceived notions. A moment of silence passed as they contemplated this revelation, their minds racing with newfound possibilities. "If what you say is true," one dwarf muttered, his voice tinged with uncertainty, "then there may be more to the Dark Lord than meets the eye." Saber nodded, a knowing smile playing upon his lips. "Indeed, dwarves. The Dark Lord's intentions may not align with what you've been led to believe. But for now let us focus on the path ahead. We have metals to collect and decisions to make." The dwarves' curiosity burned brightly as they continued their descent, their questions still lingering in the air. Finally, unable to contain their inquisitiveness any longer, one of the dwarves spoke up. "Why is the Dark Lord going against the Sky Hall and the Great Eight clans? What is his end game?" The dwarf asked, his voice tinged with a mix of curiosity and concern. Saber, his eyes gleaming with a hint of understanding, turned to face the dwarf. "The Dark Lord is not so different from you dwarves, seeking revenge against the elves who stripped you of your cultivation power," he answered. "It was the Sky Hall and the Great Eight clans who instigated the conflict with the Dark Lord. He is merely defending himself and seeking justice." The dwarves exchanged knowing glances, a flicker of recognition dancing in their eyes. They had long carried the weight of their grievances against the elves, their desire for retribution simmering within their hearts. The revelation that the Dark Lord shared a similar motivation resonated with them on a deep level. Their descent through the underground path came to an end as they reached a massive iron vault, standing tall and imposing before them. The dwarves approached it with reverence, their hands moving in a rhythmic pattern as they tapped on the door. With each tap, the vault responded, its mechanisms whirring and clanking until at last, it swung open with a mighty creak. The sight that met their eyes was nothing short of breathtaking. The vault revealed its hidden treasures, glistening in the dim light. Gold and silver coins, precious gems, and magnificent artifacts adorned the shelves and gleamed from within ornate chests. The glimmer of the treasures cast a mesmerizing light upon Saber's face, illuminating the longing and determination etched upon his features. Chapter 986. Trista, Vampire Beauty. Meanwhile, Trista, the red-haired and alluring elder vampire, had arrived at the hidden island on the far side of the Azer continent. As she approached, the mist-shrouded island emerged from the depths of the vast ocean, revealing its mysterious and enigmatic presence. The island stood as a solitary fortress, its rugged cliffs jutting out defiantly against the crashing waves. Thick vegetation covered the land, intertwining with ancient ruins that spoke of a forgotten era. The air hung heavy with an otherworldly atmosphere, as if the island held secrets that yearned to be unraveled. Above the island, a couple of airships floated and hovered, their sails adorned with the golden insignia of the Guardian Guild, a bold G that symbolized protection and order. Trista's lips curled into a mocking smirk as she observed the oblivious guardians aboard the airships, unaware of the fate that had befallen their once revered guild. Little do they know, Trista snickered to herself, her voice filled with derision. Their precious Guardian Guild is no more. Soon they shall join their fallen comrades in the realm of the dead. With a graceful motion, Trista took to the air, effortlessly soaring above the island without the need for wings. Her eyes scanned the landscape below, alert for any potential dangers that might lie in wait. As she flew, Trista's keen senses detected a gathering of guardians near a group of miners. Intrigued, she descended closer, her crimson gaze fixated on the conversation unfolding among the guardians on the hovering ship. "I can't wait to return home," said a tall, muscular guardian with a scruffy beard, his armor gleaming in the sunlight. "This waiting game is getting boring. We need some action." A younger guardian, donning a sleek silver armor, nodded in agreement. "I heard rumors that the higher-ups are hiding something from us. And did you hear about the miner who killed himself? It's all because of this strange energy deposit they want us to unearth. It's driving people mad." Trista listened intently, her interest piqued. The mention of a powerful energy deposit and its effect on the miners intrigued her. The guardians themselves were unaware of the true nature of the task they had been assigned. With her crimson lips curling into a sly smile, Trista decided to delve deeper into this mystery. The unsuspecting guardians had unwittingly provided her with valuable information, and she intended to make the most of it. Hovering on the outskirts of the island, hidden amidst the mist, Trista plotted her next move. She knew that the strongest guardian on the island was merely at the soul refining stage, a stage below her own cultivation level, the fusion stage. This knowledge only fueled her confidence, knowing that she held a significant advantage. Trista's sudden landing on the deck sent shockwaves of panic and chaos through the unsuspecting guardians. Startled by her unexpected presence, they stumbled back, their eyes wide with disbelief and fear. The air crackled with tension as they beheld the seductive smile playing upon her lips, her eyes glistening with a cold, deadly intent. "Hello, boys," Trista greeted them, her voice laced with a hint of amusement. As her lips curled back, revealing her fangs, a collective gasp escaped the guardians. "Vampire," they whispered, their voices filled with both dread and awe. With a sly smile, Trista reassured them, her tone dripping with wicked charm. "Fear not, my dear guardians. I promise to make your deaths as painless as possible." The guardians hesitated, caught between the realization of facing a formidable opponent and the reluctance to surrender without a fight. Before they could come to a decision, Trista sprang into action, her movements a blur of grace and lethal precision. She descended upon them with a frenzy of unleashed power, tearing through their defenses like a predator unleashed upon its prey. Blood splattered across the deck as she rent apart their feeble resistance, each strike a symphony of destruction. Necks snapped with bone-chilling finality, their bodies crumpling lifelessly in her wake. The deck became a macabre tableau of carnage, strewn with the broken forms of once proud guardians. Trista stood amidst the wreckage, her red hair tumbling around her, drenched in the blood of her fallen foes. Her eyes gleamed with a mixture of triumph and hunger, her fangs stained crimson. Silence descended upon the deck, punctuated only by the soft lapping of waves against the airship. The guardians who had dared to challenge the darkness, now lay defeated, their hopes shattered and their lives extinguished. As Trista reveled in her victory, her smile vanished abruptly when a slight pain seared through her shoulder. An arrow had found its mark, penetrating her flesh. The wound did not deter her, but it ignited a cold fury within her. Slowly turning, Trista fixed her gaze upon the guardian who had managed to escape her initial onslaught. The sheer intensity of her killing intent radiated from her eyes, causing a wave of terror to wash over the guardian. His hands trembled as he notched another arrow, infused with golden arch energy. Desperation fueled his actions as he unleashed the arrow, hoping to halt the relentless vampire. But Trista was far from an easy prey. With lightning-quick reflexes, she snatched the arrow out of the air, her grip tightening around the shaft until it splintered in her grasp. A feral grin spread across Trista's face as she bared her fangs, a chilling display of her predatory nature. Without hesitation, she launched herself at the guardian with an unmatched speed, her movements blurred in a flurry of deadly grace. Seizing him by the throat, Trista sank her fangs deep into the exposed flesh of the guardian's neck. A surge of energy coursed through her as she fed upon his life force. With each passing second, the guardian's youth seemed to drain away, his once vibrant body withering into a desiccated husk. In a matter of mere moments, the guardian's life force was extinguished, leaving nothing but a mummified corpse in Trista's grasp. She released her grip, letting the lifeless form crumple to the deck, its vitality sucked dry. Trista wiped the remnants of blood from her lips, her eyes gleaming with a mix of satisfaction and hunger. The taste of the guardian's essence still lingered upon her tongue, fueling her power and lust for more. The deck now bore witness to the aftermath of yet another merciless display of Trista's deadly prowess. The fallen guardians lay strewn about, their bodies discarded and lifeless. Trista stood amidst the carnage, a figure of chilling elegance and unfathomable darkness. She surveyed her surroundings, her red hair cascading around her like a curtain of blood, as the mist-swathed island whispered secrets yet to be uncovered. Trista's wound on her shoulder mended itself with supernatural speed, a testament to her superior vampiric regeneration. As her body swiftly recovered, she ascended into the air, hovering above the hovering airship, her red hair billowing around her like flames in the wind. With a wave of her hand, she cast an ancient spell, its name lost to time, but its power unmistakable. A crimson mist rose from the fallen guardians, their lifeblood summoned by Trista's dark sorcery. The blood floated through the air, swirling and dancing as if guided by an invisible hand. It wove intricate patterns like an ethereal tapestry, and enveloped the giant warship below. The vessel became ensconced in a cloak of pulsating red, the blood wrapping around it like a macabre shroud. Trista's gaze turned downwards, her eyes piercing through the mist to behold the guardians on the island below. Their expressions shifted from shock to pure terror as they witnessed the blood-covered ship and the enigmatic figure floating above. Their minds raced, trying to comprehend the supernatural spectacle before them, but their fear overwhelmed any rational thought. With a mere flick of her wrist, Trista exercised her control over the blood that encased the ship. The crimson threads tightened their grip, constricting and twisting. The vessel, now transformed into a horrifying harbinger of doom, broke free from its moorings and hurtled through the air like a meteor descending from the heavens. The sight was both mesmerizing and horrifying. The ship, streaked in vivid crimson, bore down upon the island, its trajectory unstoppable. Guardians scattered in panic, their futile attempts to flee crushed by the impending cataclysm. The earth shook beneath their feet as the vessel crashed into the island, a cataclysmic collision that rent the air with a thunderous roar. The impact unleashed an inferno of destruction, splintering the once tranquil island into a landscape of chaos. Mountains crumbled, flames licked the sky, and the echoes of screams filled the air. The guardians who had dared to defy the darkness were now victims of their own hubris, their lives extinguished in a devastating display of otherworldly power. Trista's lips curled into a sinister smile as she surveyed the aftermath of destruction. "The Dark Lord will be pleased," she murmured, her voice dripping with satisfaction, "to learn that these guardians have met their demise." Descending from the sky, Trista set foot on the scorched earth of the island. The trees stood ablaze, their branches reaching out like fiery fingers. Splintered wood from the shattered airship lay strewn about, engulfed in flames that cast flickering shadows across the scene. The ground was littered with the fallen guardians, some lying lifeless while others writhed in agony, their groans of pain filling the air. Ignoring the wounded guardians, Trista's gaze locked onto the mouth of a nearby cave. With a surge of unnatural speed, she dashed towards it, her form disappearing into the darkness. The cave exuded an eerie atmosphere, its depths shrouded in an impenetrable blackness. Mining equipment lay discarded along the path, a testament to the island's previous occupants. As Trista ventured deeper into the cave, torchlight flickered in the distance, drawing the attention of some guardians who had taken shelter within its depths. They hurried towards her, their weapons at the ready, only to be met with a swift and merciless demise. Their necks snapped with bone-chilling finality, their bodies falling lifelessly to the ground. Pressing onward, Trista continued her solitary journey through the labyrinthine cave. Finally, she reached a cavernous opening, where a small ray of sunlight pierced through the ceiling, illuminating the scene below. Water trickled around the edges, forming a delicate, meandering stream. In the center of the chamber, encased within a cage of peculiar metal, crackled a pulsating ball of black energy. Ancient skeletons, weathered and desolate, lay scattered around it like forgotten guardians of the past. However, suddenly she heard a whisper in the air. A chill ran down Trista's spine as the soft whisper drifted through the air. "Release me," it cooed, its words laced with promises of immense power. Her head throbbed, the weight of the offer pressing upon her mind. Yet, she fought against the allure, knowing the consequences of succumbing to such temptation. With steely determination, Trista activated the earpiece nestled in her ear, connecting her with the Dark Lord. "I have found the energy deposit," she conveyed with urgency, her voice laced with a mix of excitement and caution. "But you must come quickly. There is something more, something dangerous." Unbeknownst to the world, the clash between the Dark Lord and the ancient evil marked just the beginning of a cataclysmic battle. This energy deposit, a relic of unimaginable power, was but a precursor to the Dark Lord's rise to dominance. However, little did he know that this ancient evil, born from the depths of time, had slumbered long before even the gods and omegas existed. As these dark forces collided, the world stood on the precipice of a new era, where the fate of all living beings would be shaped by the conflict between two unstoppable forces of darkness. Chapter 987. Michael joins the ancient Dark Queen. An hour later, Michael arrived at the cave, drawn by Trista's urgent call. As he stepped into the dimly lit cavern, a sense of foreboding washed over him, for the atmosphere was heavy with an overwhelming presence of dark energy. His eyes widened in surprise as he realized the magnitude of the evil lurking within the cave. "Trista," Michael said, his voice laced with a mixture of admiration and concern. "You have done well. It is time for you to leave this place." Trista, her red hair slightly disheveled and her eyes still gleaming with the remnants of her earlier bloodlust, nodded in acknowledgement. She understood the gravity of the situation and trusted Michael's judgment. Reluctantly, she turned and made her way toward the cave's entrance, leaving Michael to face the ancient evil alone. As Trista departed, Michael's presence seemed to repel the malevolent energy that permeated the air. It was as if he possessed an innate immunity to the darkness that filled the cave. Though he could feel its weight pressing upon him, his resolve remained unyielding. With a steady gaze, Michael took a step forward, ready to confront the ancient evil that dwelled within. The lattice whispering voice, now colder and filled with anger, resonated through the cave. "Break the iron shield and release me," it demanded, its tone laced with a sense of urgency and menace. "Or face the consequences." Michael, undeterred by the threatening voice, scoffed and let out a mocking chuckle. "You cannot threaten nor tempt me," he declared, his voice firm and unwavering. "I know of your origins, and how could you call yourself a queen when you are scattered and caged like this?" The voice grew more furious, echoing with a mixture of rage and frustration. "You puny human. You have no idea who you are talking to. I am the queen of all." Michael remained resolute, his eyes gleaming with a hint of defiance. "Your claims of power may have been true in the distant past, but now you are nothing more than a shadow of your former self. Your time has passed, and you shall remain sealed within this cage." To Michael's surprise, standing before him were the remnants of Mugashuka's master and the self-proclaimed ancient being known as the Queen. During his travels through different universes, he had come across tales of the Queen, a threat that loomed over all existence. However, Michael had chosen to disregard her, for her soul had been fragmented and scattered across countless dimensions. Though her forces tirelessly sought to reunite her soul fragments and restore her power, it would take many years. Michael had more immediate concerns to attend to, and he knew he lacked the strength to face even one of the queen's generals, let alone the queen herself. Finding himself alone with this remnant of the queen, Michael saw an opportunity to manipulate the situation to his advantage. With a calm demeanor and a hint of amusement, he proposed, "Since we find ourselves in this isolated space, why don't we engage in a conversation and discover that we may share more in common than you realize?" The queen's anger flared, her ancient presence seething with hostility. "You, a mere ant, dare to suggest such a thing? I should end your existence for your audacity," she retorted, her voice dripping with contempt. A sly smile played across Michael's lips as he further provoked the ancient being. "Listen to yourself. You who now yearns for the help of a mere ant to escape this cage. It seems you find yourself in this situation because you were too much of a bitch on your time," he taunted, purposefully igniting the queen's fury. The queen's rage intensified, her anger fueling her desire for revenge. But Michael remained unfazed, his demeanor unyielding and nonchalant. In this encounter, the balance of power tilted in his favor, and he reveled in his ability to manipulate and undermine the ancient being before him. "You should know that your General Mugashiku has sought my assistance in locating the dark energy crystals, which I suspect contain fragments of your own soul," Michael stated, his voice laced with a calculated confidence. The queen's anger appeared to simmer down slightly upon hearing these words. Seizing the opportunity presented by the momentary lull, Michael continued to sway the queen's disposition. In his mind, he weighed the possibility of joining forces with her, recognizing the potential for increased strength. Furthermore, he harbored a certain empathy for the queen, as the world had labeled him as evil and dark, much like they had her. Until he could ascertain her true nature, he saw no harm in utilizing her power to his own advantage. Besides, even if he were convinced of her malevolence, he knew that his options were limited. It was a matter of utilizing her and her forces to further his own goals. "Very well, human. But let there be no mistake about who you are conversing with. While one fragment of my soul may be confined within this cage before you, countless others are not. Any of them possess the power to obliterate your very existence," the queen warned, her voice laced with a chilling authority. "Understood," Michael responded, his tone tinged with a confident arrogance. "You see, I am a god. Granted, perhaps a lesser deity compared to your esteemed presence, but a god nevertheless. The world and those who hold power in it brand those who possess great strength or wield unfamiliar powers as evil and dark. They labeled me as such and banished me to another universe. Do you now see why I suggested we might share something in common?" With his words hanging in the air, Michael observed the queen, awaiting her response. The balance between their potential alliance and the inherent dangers of their association swayed delicately, leaving their future intertwined with uncertainty. Weaklings indeed fear power, while gods revel in it, crushing those who are beneath them. The feeble-minded call what they fear evil and dark. "Regrettably, these pathetic fools have been allowed to grow and flourish," the queen replied, her tone dripping with disdain. "Yes, never underestimate the power of stupidity when it gathers in great numbers. This is where we can mutually benefit. As I am preoccupied with dealing with these imbeciles, I am unable to locate more of your scattered soul pieces. However, if you aid me in becoming stronger as you have done with your generals, I can swiftly eradicate my enemies and expedite the search for your soul fragments," Michael proposed, his voice laced with calculated pragmatism. In response, the queen's laughter filled the cavern, an ominous sound that sent shivers down Michael's spine. The malicious echoes reverberated through the chamber, signifying an unsettling agreement. "Human, do not assume that your attempts at manipulation escape my notice. I can read your thoughts as clearly as the light of day. Even the weakest fragment of my soul possesses the capability to annihilate your entire world in a matter of seconds. Yet, I perceive the potential benefits of utilizing you to further my own aims. Furthermore, I sense an ancient power dormant within you," the queen declared, her voice tinged with a hidden sense of intrigue. A chill coursed through Michael's being as he felt the probing gaze of the ancient being, a sensation that left him feeling exposed and vulnerable. "I comprehend now why Mugashiku chose you to locate my scattered soul pieces. This dormant power within you possesses the ability to fulfill that task. However, it remains dormant, choosing to hide from its predators. At its current stage, this power is incapable of defeating them. I can assist you in awakening this power for a limited duration in exchange for your pledge." The queen's words dripped with insidious intent and an icy aura of authority. "What is it that you desire?" Michael inquired, his voice filled with a mixture of caution and curiosity. "What you behold here is not a mere fragment of my soul," but rather my energy infused with a fraction of my consciousness. I left it as a beacon to guide the way towards my other scattered soul fragments. Despite being imprisoned by someone I hold utmost disdain for, the queen clarified, her voice resonating with a mix of bitterness and determination. And you wish for me to locate this soul fragment that your consciousness has discovered and deliver it to Mugeshiku, Michael surmised. Yes and no. It would be prudent for you to locate my soul piece, but instead of handing over the crystal that contains it to Mugeshiku, leave it within the place you refer to as the demon's grave, the queen commanded, her voice leaving no room for negotiation. The temptation to awaken the dormant system was too alluring for Michael to resist. He recognized the symbiotic relationship between himself and the system, realizing that if the queen could temporarily awaken the system, he could utilize the accumulated badass points to locate more hidden seeds of darkness and find a permanent solution to prevent the system from remaining offline. I can fulfill your request. You have my word, Michael pledged, his tone laced with a tinge of eagerness and caution. I care not for your words, human. Failure to uphold this agreement will result in the wrath of my minion, Mugeshiku. You would be wise to honor your promise, the queen warned, her voice chillingly devoid of mercy. Understood, Michael replied. A brief silence enveloped the cavern, broken only by the queen's voice as she continued to speak. Absorb my energy, and it shall awaken your dormant power, the queen commanded, her words carrying a commanding authority. Suddenly, a pulsating sensation surged through Michael's mind, a familiar hum signaling the reawakening of the system. To his surprise and elation, he heard the long-lost voice of the system once again. System rebooting? Unknown power has overridden safe mode. Energy absorption has commenced. The queen's voice echoed with a commanding tone as she issued her next instruction. Destroy the cage, human. Break the constraints that hold my energy captive, she commanded, her words laced with a mix of authority and anticipation. Michael's instincts compelled him to obey, his mind filled with a surge of dark energy. Beams of darkness shot forth from his eyes, their intensity growing with each passing moment. With a tremendous burst of power, the beams struck the metal cage, shattering it into countless fragments. The once imprisoned energy, now liberated, radiated with a strange aura, as if undergoing a transformation. If the system had remained offline and silent, Michael's initial instinct would have been to exercise caution and avoid breaking the cage that held the queen's energy. His analytical mind would have evaluated the potential risks and consequences of such an action. However, the awakening of the system introduced a new element into the equation. Its whispered guidance and subtle influence, coupled with Michael's trust in its judgment, shifted his perspective. The system's suggestion to break the cage and absorb the energy resonated with his deepest instincts, convincing him that it was a necessary and advantageous course of action. In this symbiotic relationship between man and system, their combined instincts and the whispered promises of power led Michael to make the fateful decision to shatter the cage and embrace the queen's energy. As the shattered fragments of the cage fell to the ground, the released energy began to manifest itself in a peculiar manner. It swirled and twisted, coalescing into intricate patterns and symbols that danced in the air around Michael. The energy seemed to be drawn towards him, and a powerful force drew it inward. Within Michael's being, the system that had lain dormant for what felt like an eternity greedily absorbed the newfound energy. It crackled and surged, merging with the dark sliver of energy that had once been the queen's. The merging of the two forces produced an otherworldly glow, as if a cosmic exchange was occurring within Michael's very core. With each passing moment, the dark sliver of energy dissipated, vanishing into Michael's body. The absorption completed, the once dormant system hummed with renewed vigor, intertwining with the latent power that had been awakened. Michael's senses sharpened, his veins pulsating with a newfound strength, as if the amalgamation of dark energy and system had forged him into something beyond human. As the final remnants of the queen's energy vanished, Michael stood before the radiant aftermath of the cage's destruction, a transformation evident in his eyes. Chapter 988. The system is back online. System online. The system will go offline in 1 hour. As the system came back online, its familiar voice echoed within Michael's mind, bringing a sense of reassurance and excitement. "I'm glad to have you back, system," he whispered. With the system's return, Michael knew he had a powerful tool at his disposal, one that could aid him in his quest for the seeds of darkness. "I need to know where to find more seeds of darkness," Michael stated, his voice filled with determination. The system's response was swift and concise. "To locate all the seeds of darkness, A total of 5 million badass points is required. Once the points are paid, I will provide you with a comprehensive map containing their locations. Michael paused for a moment, considering the significance of the task at hand. He had worked tirelessly to accumulate his badass points, and now they would be put to the ultimate test. With a resolute nod, he replied, "Agreed, points deducted. Transfer complete. Map containing the locations of the Seeds of Darkness has been added to your system storage." A surge of satisfaction coursed through Michael's veins as he felt the weight of the task ahead. The map would be his guide, leading him to the hidden sources of power and darkness. "And system, do you recall the Phoenix project we previously discussed? It seems that the time has come for its completion," Michael remarked, his voice tinged with a hint of anticipation. "Although I hope it won't be necessary, I have a feeling that I might need it soon. The system is capable of completing the Phoenix project, but a total of 10 million badass points is required for its execution." "Consider it done," Michael responded without hesitation. With the system fully operational, even if only for an hour, he wasted no time in setting his plans into motion, carefully orchestrating the unfolding events and preparing the stage for the imminent battles that lay ahead. After returning from the cave, Michael entered his forge in the Demon's Grave, where the metal he required from Saber was waiting for him. The flickering flames of the forge cast eerie shadows on the walls, creating an atmosphere of anticipation. He approached the workbench and carefully retrieved the parchment where he had sketched the designs for his armor and Gaia's armor. Unfolding the parchment, Michael studied the intricate details of each piece, envisioning how they would come to life. He knew that the completion of his armor required not only skill but also the finest metals. With the system back online, it had provided him with a comprehensive list of suitable metals, thanks to the information he had received from Saber. However, as he reviewed the list, Michael realized that his priorities had shifted. He had spent a significant amount of his accumulated badass points on life-saving backup plans and crucial resources that were more important than obtaining the Dark Ore for his armor. The cost of acquiring the Dark Ore through badass points exceeded the remaining points he possessed. Undeterred by this setback, Michael made a decision. He would proceed with forging his armor using the worldly metals available to him, knowing that the expertise of a skilled blacksmith like himself could still create a formidable piece of equipment. He would reserve the option to upgrade the armor with the Dark Ore in the future once he had accumulated the necessary points or discovered alternative means of obtaining it. With resolute determination, Michael began gathering the required materials, carefully selecting the metals that possessed the desired properties and strength. Igniting the forge with a wave of his hand, he set the temperature to the perfect level, allowing the metals to heat and soften. As the flames danced and the heat intensified, Michael wielded his hammer with practiced precision, shaping the metals according to the design he had sketched. Each strike echoed through the forge, resonating with his unwavering determination. Hours turned into days as Michael tirelessly worked on his armor, meticulously crafting each piece with unwavering attention to detail. The clang of metal against metal filled the air, harmonizing with the rhythmic beating of his heart. With every strike, he poured his essence into the creation, infusing the armor with his dark energy. Throughout the forging process, thoughts of Gaia lingered in Michael's mind. He knew he had to fashion armor worthy of his soon-to-be wife, a reflection of her strength and beauty. He took a moment to sketch the design for Gaia's armor, ensuring that it complemented his own while also capturing her essence. After a long day of forging, Eladir entered the forge, his eyes filled with concern. He couldn't help but worry about Michael, who seemed completely engrossed in his work, oblivious to the impending wedding day. As Eladir stepped into the dimly lit forge, his gaze fell upon two tall figures shrouded in dark cloth, piquing his curiosity. "My lord, your wedding is tomorrow. You should get some rest and prepare for the big day," Eladir gently reminded Michael, hoping to draw his attention away from the forge. Michael's face lit up with excitement as he turned to face Eladir. With anticipation in his voice, he exclaimed, "Ah, Eladir, you've arrived at the perfect time." As Eladir's eyes fell upon the draped figures, Michael approached them, his movements filled with a sense of pride and accomplishment. Slowly and deliberately, he removed the black cloth, revealing the two awe-inspiring armors he had forged. The first armor, crafted according to Michael's sketch, emanated an intimidating presence. The chest plate, adorned with a fearsome skull, had crimson eyes that seemed to exude an aura of menacing power. Gone was the need for a mask as the armor covered Michael's entire body from neck to toe. Metallic wings seamlessly integrated into the armor's structure, caught the light with a reflective gleam, hinting at their immense strength. These wings bestowed upon him the ability to defy gravity, enabling him to navigate treacherous environments such as the perilous Demon's Grave. The armor incorporated various powerful tools, including the APD Mark III grappling hook and the versatile Olympus. A spraying mechanism on his palm provided him with the means to release potent toxins and poisons when necessary. What delighted him most, however, was the ingenious face cloak system he had devised. With a simple activation, a menacing skull mask concealed his face, offering protection in underwater settings or when he required additional shielding for his head. Majestic capes billowed regally when the wings were closed, and sword sheaths adorned his back, allowing easy access to his trusted blades. Strategically placed slots around his waist were designed to hold an array of gadgets and tools, ensuring he was prepared for any battle that lay ahead. Besides Michael's armor stood Gaia's counterpart, an identical ensemble with slight alterations to accommodate her feminine form. The breastplate was meticulously shaped to fit her curves, while an intricate engraving of a cobra graced the center of the skull emblem. The armor, predominantly black, featured silver and red linings along the edges, accentuating its dark allure. Just like Michael's, Gaia's armor possessed the metallic black wings that promised flight and freedom. The surface of the armor shimmered, its sheen reflecting the forge's flickering flames, while an air of terror emanated from its terrifying appearance. Elidor stood in awe, beholding the magnificent armors that Michael had created. The craftsmanship, attention to detail, and sheer power exuded from them left him speechless. It was clear that these armors were not mere tools for battle but embodiments of Michael and Gaia's journey, their devotion to each other, and the darkness that coursed through their veins. In that moment, Elidor understood that Michael's commitment to forging the perfect armors had a profound significance beyond their physical form. They represented their unity, their unyielding determination to face whatever challenges awaited them as a couple. "Elidor, please see to it that these armors are delivered to the Phoenix Project," Michael instructed as he turned to leave the forge. "I think it's time for me to freshen up. The scent of metal and fire clings to me." With that, Michael strode out of the forge, the weight of his responsibilities temporarily lifted from his shoulders. Leaving the castle behind, he made his way towards a nearby waterfall, a place of tranquility where he could cleanse both his body and mind. The anticipation of the upcoming wedding filled his thoughts, and even though Eve had kept the location a secret, he had full confidence in Saber and the elder vampires to ensure its security. As the cascading water enveloped him, washing away the remnants of soot and sweat, Michael allowed himself a moment of respite. The cool mist embraced him, rejuvenating his spirit and sharpening his focus. Being the Dark Lord, the most formidable entity in the world, he knew that his presence alone was often enough to deter any potential threats. Yet, he remained vigilant, understanding the importance of the occasion and the need for meticulous preparations. As the water fell gracefully around him, Michael contemplated the path he had walked, the battles fought, and the sacrifices made to reach this momentous day. He couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude for the loyal comrades who had stood by his side, each playing an integral role in his journey. Their unwavering support had brought him to the precipice of this joyous union with Gaia, and for that he was truly grateful. Emerging from the waterfall, his body refreshed and his mind clear, Michael made his way back to the castle. As he approached, he could sense the energy and excitement building in the air. The grandeur of the occasion was palpable, and he was ready to embrace the celebration of love that awaited him. With his armor forged, his subordinates handling the necessary arrangements, and his heart filled with anticipation, Michael stepped into the castle, ready to embark on the next chapter of his extraordinary life. While Michael was preparing for his big day, Dagon stepped into the temple of the god of darkness in the realm of gods. A foreboding atmosphere enveloped him. The chamber was shrouded in darkness, lit only by a few candles that burned with an eerie blue light. Shadows danced along the ancient stone walls, casting twisted silhouettes upon the cold floor. At the far end of the temple stood a colossal statue, a depiction of the god of darkness himself, Michael. The temple's worshippers, devout followers of the god of darkness, lay scattered and unconscious, felled by Dagon's minions who had swiftly subdued them. Silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by Dagon's echoing footsteps as he advanced toward the towering statue. As he reached the base, Dagon extended his hand, his fingertips grazing the cool surface of the obsidian figure. To his astonishment, the statue quivered beneath his touch as if infused with a surge of life. A hidden compartment, previously concealed beneath the statue's feet, creaked open, revealing a small black box made of a mysterious, shimmering metal. A golden light radiated from within, casting an ethereal glow upon Dagon's face. "Graces of gods," Dagon mumbled in awe, his eyes fixed on the radiant box. With trembling hands, he carefully lifted the precious artifact from its resting place. His gaze flickered up to meet the unyielding gaze of the statue above him, his lips curling into a wicked grin. "Let the battle begin," Dagon declared, his voice laced with anticipation. With a decisive motion, he opened the black box and a flurry of sparkling lights burst forth, darting through the air before vanishing into the shadows beyond the temple's boundaries. Chapter 989. The big wedding. The long-awaited day had finally arrived. The island, bathed in the ethereal glow of 3 dazzling moons, exuded an enchanting aura. Lush green grass, meticulously pruned and shimmering under the moonlight, stretched out as far as the eye could see. Delicate petals of black roses adorned the pathways, leading to a grand altar adorned with obsidian pillars and silver draperies that billowed gently in the breeze. The island had been transformed into a realm of dark elegance, where nature and artistry melded seamlessly. Moonlight cascaded through intricately woven canopies, casting enchanting patterns upon the ground. Crystal chandeliers, suspended from ancient trees, twinkled with 1,000 iridescent lights, creating an otherworldly ambience. Floral arrangements of black orchids, crimson lilies, and dark calla lilies mingled with rare thorny vines, forming a tapestry of contrasting beauty. Candles flickered in ornate holders, casting a soft, mesmerizing glow upon the faces of the guests. A majestic arch, adorned with intertwining vines and delicate silver chains, framed the couple's ceremonial space. At its pinnacle, a magnificent black opal, glowing with an inner fire, stood as a symbol of eternal union. As the guests arrived, they marveled at the breathtaking scene that unfolded before their eyes. They found their seats upon silver-padded chairs, their backs adorned with midnight blue satin bows. Soft, haunting melodies filled the air as skilled musicians played haunting melodies on stringed instruments. From the edges of the island, the sapphire waves of the dark sea lapped gently against the shore, harmonizing with the symphony of love and celebration. The sky above was an artist's canvas, painted with countless stars that twinkled in harmony with the moons, creating a celestial canopy overhead. All around, a sense of joy and anticipation hung in the air, as friends, allies, and dignitaries gathered to witness the union of the Dark Lord and his beloved. This was a moment that transcended darkness, a moment of unity and newfound hope that would forever be etched in the annals of their world. On the edge of the island, 3 magnificent portals had been meticulously constructed. The first, larger and adorned with swirling obsidian patterns, awaited the arrival of the Dark Lord himself. The second, adorned with delicate silver and gold filigree, stood ready for the radiant entrance of the bride, Gaia. The third, for the esteemed guests, shimmered with a translucent energy, inviting them to step into the realm of enchantment. Only the closest friends and family of the Dark Lord and Gaia had received the honor of an invitation. As the portals hummed with power, a sense of anticipation rippled through the air. The array of arrays and protective runes, intricately etched into the ground around the island, glowed softly, serving as both a decorative element and a security measure. Among the first to emerge from the guest portal was Cindy, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She was accompanied by Claire, a striking beauty with cascading blonde hair, who guided her gently towards their designated seating. Raylene, Cindy's mother, exuded elegance as she walked gracefully alongside them, her presence commanding attention and respect. Saber, a trusted ally and confidant of the Dark Lord, strode with a dignified eye. Tiberius, a formidable warrior with a quiet strength, stood tall and proud, his attire a perfect blend of regality and power. Dalar, the imposing orc, his rough exterior softened by a touch of sophistication, made his way towards the seating area with a determined stride. Each guest, dressed in their finest attire, showcased a unique blend of elegance and individuality. They moved with grace and purpose, their footsteps punctuated by the gentle rustle of rich fabrics. Laughter and whispers filled the air as old friends greeted one another, their anticipation growing with each passing moment. As they took their seats, the island became a tapestry of colors and personalities, a gathering of those closest to the Dark Lord and Gaia. The stage was set, the scene beautifully orchestrated, as they awaited the arrival of the Dark Lord and his radiant bride. The guests looked around in awe, their eyes wide with wonder at the breathtaking beauty of the island and its enchanting decorations. Trista, her voice filled with admiration, remarked, "Eve has truly outdone herself. This is a sight to behold." Saber nodded in agreement, his usually stoic expression softened by a genuine smile. "Indeed, she has poured her heart and soul into making this day unforgettable." Tiberius, his gaze fixed on the intricate details, marveled, "I've never seen anything quite like this. It's as if we've stepped into a realm of pure magic." Arya, her voice filled with excitement, added, "Every little detail from the sparkling lights to the delicate flowers, it's like a dream come true." Raylene, her eyes shimmering with pride, turned to Claire and said, "You and Eve have done an exceptional job. This is beyond anything I could have imagined." Claire blushed modestly, her voice tinged with gratitude. "Thank you, Raylene. It was an honor to assist in creating this magical ambience." As the guests marveled at the decorations, their attention was momentarily drawn to a flicker of movement in the sky. Trista's eyes widened as she whispered, "Do you see them?" Saber nodded, his voice barely audible, "The Vampire Death Squad members, concealed from prying eyes. They're the Dark Lord's last line of defense, vigilant and prepared for any unexpected turn of events." Gibson, Corey, Titus, Optimus and Ricky exchanged impressed glances, their voices filled with awe. "Such attention to detail and thoughtfulness," Gibson remarked. "Indeed," Corey agreed, "it's clear that no expense was spared in creating this grand spectacle." Titus added, "The Dark Lord and Gaia truly deserve nothing but the best on their special day." Optimus, his voice filled with admiration, stated, "I'm honored to be part of this celebration. It's like stepping into a fairy tale." Ricky nodded, his eyes reflecting the shimmering lights surrounding them. "I couldn't agree more. This island and the atmosphere, it's simply magical." As the guests continued to explore the enchanting setting, their expressions mirrored a shared sentiment of amazement and gratitude. This was a momentous occasion, a testament to love and unity, where every detail had been carefully crafted to create a truly unforgettable experience. Cindy, her eyes sparkling with excitement, tugged at Raylene's sleeve and exclaimed, "Mommy, Ghost and Gaia are going to look so beautiful as husband and wife. I want a wedding like this when I grow up." Her innocence and enthusiasm brought smiles to everyone's faces. Claire, unable to contain her amusement, knelt down to Cindy's eye level and teasingly remarked, "Well, Cindy, we'll have to find you the perfect Prince Charming when the time comes." Trista playfully joined in, adding, "But we won't let you get married just yet. You're too young." Gibson, Corey, Titus, Optimus and Ricky chuckled at the adorable exchange, their laughter blending with the gentle waves crashing against the shore. Gibson ruffled Cindy's hair affectionately, saying, "You have plenty of time, little one. Enjoy being a child for now." Cindy pouted playfully, crossing her arms and retorting, "But it's so pretty. I want a big wedding with flowers and lights just like Ghost and Gaia's." Her determination and enthusiasm brought warmth to their hearts. Raylene, her voice filled with love and amusement, hugged Cindy tightly. "One day, sweetheart, you'll have the wedding of your dreams. But for now, let's enjoy this beautiful celebration and make wonderful memories together." As the guests laughed and shared in the joyful banter, the innocence of Cindy's wishes reminded them of the preciousness of youth and the magic of love. They cherished this moment, knowing that it would be a memory to hold dear for years to come. When the anticipation reached its peak, the atmosphere crackled with excitement. The portal designated for the Dark Lord shimmered with an ethereal glow, drawing everyone's attention. Dark flames danced along the edges of the portal, casting a mesmerizing play of shadows. And then, with an air of regal grace, the Dark Lord stepped through the portal, accompanied by the ever-loyal Eladir. Gasps of astonishment escaped from the lips of the guests as they laid eyes upon their enigmatic leader. Dressed in a tuxedo that perfectly blended the elegance of the modern world with the medieval flair of their realm, the Dark Lord was a vision of dashing allure. The ensemble consisted of a tailored black coat with intricate silver embroidery along the edges, highlighting his commanding presence. The coat cascaded down to his knees, accentuating his lean physique and regal stature. Beneath the coat, he wore a crisp white shirt, its collar adorned with a black silk cravat elegantly tied in a knot. His pants were a deep shade of charcoal, tailored to perfection, while his black leather boots added a touch of rugged sophistication. But it was the Dark Lord's transformation that truly left everyone stunned. He had shaved his stubble beard, revealing a chiseled jawline, and his shoulder-length black hair was carefully pruned, framing his face with a captivating allure. His piercing eyes held a glimmer of both power and vulnerability, captivating the hearts of all who beheld him. As whispers of awe and admiration spread through the guests, a collective realization washed over them. The Dark Lord, their feared and revered leader, was not only a formidable force but also a man of breathtaking handsomeness. The contrast of his dark aura with his striking appearance created an irresistible magnetism, leaving everyone mesmerized. In that moment, the beauty of the island and the grandeur of the wedding faded into the background. All eyes were fixed upon the Dark Lord, their hearts quickening at the sight of this unexpected and captivating transformation. Whispers of admiration and disbelief floated through the guests, their voices tinged with awe and astonishment. "Have you ever seen him look so handsome?" Trista murmured, her eyes never leaving the Dark Lord. Arya nodded in agreement, a dreamy smile playing on her lips. "I've always known he was powerful, but this is something else entirely. He's positively enchanting." Raylene, unable to contain her amazement, leaned in closer to Claire. "Is it even possible for someone to be that attractive? Gaia's a lucky woman." Claire chuckled softly, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "I think every woman in this room is feeling a little jealous right now. Who could resist such a lure?" Cindy tugged on Saber's sleeve, her eyes wide with wonder. "Ghost looks like a prince from a fairy tale. He's so handsome, Saber. I want a wedding just like this." Saber ruffled Cindy's hair affectionately, a playful glint in his eyes. "Well, little one, well, make sure your wedding is just as magical. But remember, we won't let anyone steal you away from us so easily." Gibson, standing nearby, chimed in with a smirk. "Sorry, Cindy, but you're stuck with us. No one else can match up to your awesomeness." The guests laughed, the joyous sound filling the air as they reveled in the enchanting atmosphere and the captivating presence of their Dark Lord. Each conversation, filled with admiration and playful banter, echoed the unanimous sentiment. The Dark Lord was a vision of unparalleled handsomeness, capturing the hearts of all who beheld him. Time seemed to stand still as the portal of the bride shimmered with a radiant golden light. Anticipation filled the air, and all eyes turned toward the glowing portal. Through the ethereal haze, Gaia emerged, a vision of exquisite beauty. Gasps of admiration escaped the lips of the guests as they beheld her. Gaia's flowing black hair cascaded down her shoulders, complementing her flawless complexion and accentuating her striking features. Her eyes sparkled with a mixture of excitement and love, while her elegant posture exuded grace and confidence. Gaia wore a gown that seemed to have been woven from moonlight itself. The dress hugged her curves delicately, before cascading into layers of ethereal white fabric that trailed behind her. The bodice was adorned with intricate silver embroidery, shimmering like stardust, and delicate lace sleeves draped gracefully over her arms. The gown's neckline dipped modestly, accentuating her collarbones and drawing attention to the radiant smile that graced her lips. The guests were captivated, their breaths held in awe as Gaia glided down the aisle, her every step a testament to her beauty. Michael stood at the altar, his heart racing, his eyes fixed on his radiant bride. For a moment he was rendered speechless, his gaze locked with hers. Claire, standing beside Trista, leaned in and whispered, her voice filled with wonder, "She's like a goddess, so stunning, it's almost unreal." Trista nodded, her voice filled with admiration. "He is a lucky man. She's the epitome of elegance and beauty." Saber, his eyes never leaving Gaia, leaned towards Raylene. "Look at her, Raylene. She's like a celestial being. I've never seen a bride more radiant." Raylene, her voice filled with emotion, replied, "She's the perfect match for our Dark Lord. They are truly meant for each other." Adelia, with a proud and gentle expression, walked alongside her daughter down the aisle. Vidora, perched gracefully on Adelia's shoulder, seemed to radiate a sense of calm and wisdom, her presence adding a touch of enchantment to the scene. All eyes were fixed on Gaia and Michael, their gazes locked, as if the world around them had faded into insignificance. The guests watched in awe as the bride and her mother made their way towards the awaiting Dark Lord. Gaia's every step exuded grace and elegance, her eyes sparkling with anticipation and happiness. The soft rustle of her wedding dress seemed to harmonize with the gentle breeze, lending an ethereal quality to her movement. Adelia, her face beaming with motherly pride, guided Gaia with a gentle touch, offering both support and love. Michael stood at the altar, his eyes never leaving his bride. A sense of wonder and admiration filled his gaze as he took in the vision before him. In that moment, it was as if time stood still, and the world existed solely for their union. The guests observed this tender exchange, their hearts swelling with joy for the couple. Whispers of awe and appreciation rippled through the crowd, as they witnessed the profound connection between Gaia and Michael. Claire, her voice filled with emotion, turned to Arya beside her. Look at them, Arya. They are meant to be together. Such love and devotion. Arya nodded, her eyes misty with tears of happiness. Yes, Claire. It's as if they were destined to find each other. They look absolutely mesmerized by one another. The atmosphere was charged with a mixture of anticipation, love, and enchantment. As Gaia drew closer to Michael, the air seemed to shimmer with the palpable energy of their union. It was a moment of profound beauty and significance, one that would forever be etched in the memories of all who bore witness to their love. Chapter 990. Husband and wife. Eladir, resplendent in his ceremonial attire, stepped onto the altar, his presence commanding attention. He took his position, ready to officiate the union of Gaia and Michael, a smile of warmth and genuine happiness adorning his face. Gaia's eyes never left Michael, her heart swelling with a mixture of awe and love. In her eyes he was the epitome of strength, grace, and regal charm. She marveled at how handsomely he wore his tuxedo, the subtle hints of medieval flair adding a touch of mystique to his already captivating presence. As she stood before him, Gaia couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the beauty of the moment. The island, adorned with exquisite decorations, seemed to come alive with vibrant colors and delicate details, creating a picturesque backdrop for their union. The soft glow of the three moons cast a magical radiance over the scene, enhancing its ethereal quality. In Gaia's eyes, Michael was not just a dark lord. He was her beloved, her partner, and the man who had captured her heart. She had never imagined meeting someone like him, someone who saw beyond her titles and embraced her for who she truly was. His love and devotion made her feel cherished and valued, like a queen in his presence. As she stood beside him on this momentous day, Gaia felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment and contentment. This was the happiest moment of her entire life, a culmination of their journey and the beginning of a new chapter filled with love, adventure, and shared destiny. As Eladir began the ceremony, Gaia's gaze remained locked with Michael's. Their eyes spoke volumes, expressing a depth of connection and understanding that surpassed words. In that moment, surrounded by loved ones and embraced by the enchanting ambience, Gaia knew that she had found her true happiness. She was ready to embark on this extraordinary journey with Michael, hand in hand, for all eternity. Eladir stood before the couple, his voice carrying a soothing warmth as he began to speak, his words laced with wisdom and sincerity. Dark Lord Gaia, today we gather to celebrate the union of two souls, bound together in love and commitment. Marriage is not just a union of hearts but a promise to journey through life hand in hand, facing both joys and challenges together. He paused, allowing his words to sink in, and continued, in the grand tapestry of life, it is not only during the happiest times that the bond of marriage grows stronger. It is in the face of adversity, the storms that test our resolve, that we discover the true strength of our connection. It is during these moments that the foundation of trust, respect, and unwavering support is forged. Eladir's voice resonated with a sense of reverence as he continued, marriage is a sacred commitment, a sanctuary of love and understanding where two souls find solace in one another's embrace. It is a partnership that calls upon you, Dark Lord, and you, Gaia, to stand as pillars of strength for one another, to lift each other up in times of doubt, to provide solace in moments of sorrow, and to celebrate each other's triumphs. He turned his gaze towards Michael and said, Dark Lord, as you stand here today, know that the strength of your character, the depth of your love, and the unwavering devotion you offer to Gaia will guide her through life's uncertainties. It is through your actions and your unwavering support that you shall inspire her to be her best self, to flourish and thrive. Eladir's eyes shifted to Gaia, a gentle smile gracing his lips. And Gaia, as you stand by the side of the Dark Lord, know that your love, compassion, and unwavering loyalty will serve as a beacon of light in his darkest moments. Your presence shall bring him comfort, and your understanding shall be his refuge. He turned his attention back to the couple before him, his voice filled with heartfelt sincerity. May your journey together be blessed with unwavering love, unbreakable bonds, and a shared destiny that transcends time. Cherish one another, uplift one another, and never forget that the strength of your love will carry you through life's greatest challenges. As Eladir's words hung in the air, the atmosphere was filled with a profound sense of unity and purpose. The couple exchanged a glance, their eyes reflecting the depth of their commitment and the promises they held within their hearts. In that moment, they knew that their love was not merely a fleeting flame but a blazing fire that would guide them through every step of their shared path. Eladir, recognizing the couple's preference for brevity, smiled warmly and nodded. In the spirit of your wishes, let us proceed without lengthy speeches. Dark Lord Gaia, please share your heartfelt sentiments. Michael took a step forward, his eyes fixed on Gaia with unwavering adoration. With a voice filled with conviction, he spoke, I stand here today surrounded by the love and support of those who have joined us in this celebration. But there is one truth I want to share. In this vast world, if a man claims to have fallen in love with a woman, he would never have the capacity to fall in love with another. If he does, then he never truly fell in love with the first. His words carried a sense of absolute devotion, a testament to the depth of his love for Gaia. The guests listened intently, captivated by the sincerity and conviction in his voice. Gaia, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears, stepped forward to speak. Her voice trembled with emotion as she addressed the gathered crowd. I am not one for grand speeches, but I stand here today in the presence of all the people who hold a special place in our hearts, to say a heartfelt thank you. Her gaze met Michael's and she continued, her voice filled with love and gratitude. Thank you for seeing me for who I truly am, for accepting and embracing every part of me. You have shown me a love so pure and unconditional, it has transformed my world. Today, as we embark on this journey together, I promise to stand by your side, to cherish and nurture the love we share. The guests applauded, touched by the sincerity of Michael and Gaia's words. Their love, expressed in its simplest form, resonated deeply within the hearts of all who witnessed the exchange. Eladir, his eyes gleaming with joy, concluded the moment with a smile. May your love continue to grow, nourished by the bond you share and the unbreakable commitment you have made to one another. Today we celebrate your union and the beginning of a beautiful chapter in your lives. Eladir, his voice filled with warmth and joy, turned to Gaia and asked, Gaia, do you accept him as your husband, to love, honor, and cherish him in both joyful and challenging times? Gaia, her eyes sparkling with love and happiness, nodded fervently. Yes, with all my heart. Eladir then turned to Michael and asked, do you accept Gaia as your wife, to love, honor, and protect her in both joyful and challenging times? Michael's voice resonated with unwavering certainty. Yes, with all that I am. With a radiant smile, Eladir declared, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. As the guests erupted into applause, Eladir presented the wedding rings, a symbol of their eternal commitment. Gently, Michael and Gaia took each other's hands, slipping the rings onto their fingers, a gesture of love and unity. Eladir's voice filled the air once more, you may now seal your vows with a kiss. Time seemed to stand still as Michael and Gaia leaned in, their lips meeting in a tender and passionate embrace. The guests rose to their feet, showering the newlyweds with flowers and applause. Joy and celebration filled the air, mingling with laughter and cheers. Amidst the vibrant display of affection and admiration, the couple stood embraced, their hearts overflowing with love and gratitude. The moment marked the beginning of their shared journey, a union blessed by the love of those who surrounded them. As the petals of countless flowers danced around them, Michael and Gaia reveled in the euphoria of their union, knowing that their love had triumphed and that their souls had found their perfect match. They were now husband and wife, ready to face the future hand in hand, with the unwavering support of their loved ones by their side. The celebration continued in full swing as the enchanting melodies played by Ricky, Daniel, and the talented vampires filled the air. The infectious rhythm beckoned the guests to the dance floor, where laughter and joy echoed through every step. Gaia and Michael, their eyes locked with love and mirth, swayed together, their bodies moving in perfect harmony. The aroma of delectable delicacies wafted through the air, drawing everyone towards the feast prepared by Raylene. The tables were adorned with an array of mouth-watering dishes, each one a masterpiece in its own right. Succulent roasted meats, accompanied by a medley of herbs and spices, delighted the senses. Colorful salads burst with freshness and flavor, while platters of exquisite pastries tempted even the most disciplined palates. Guests gathered around, savoring the culinary delights, their taste buds tingling with pleasure. Raylene's culinary expertise was evident in every bite, as her creations showcased a perfect balance of flavors and textures. Laughter and compliments filled the air as each dish was savored, and the sound of clinking glasses and toasts resonated throughout the night. Amidst the festivities, Cindy, with her infectious energy, twirled and danced amongst the ladies, filling the atmosphere with her youthful enthusiasm. Saber, Delar, Raylene, Claire, and Eve, their usual stoic demeanor forgotten, joined in the merriment, their smiles lighting up the night. Gaia and Michael watched with adoration, their hearts filled with joy at the sight of their loved ones immersed in the celebration. As Cindy spun and twirled, Gaia and Michael shared a knowing glance. Michael's deep voice resonated with amusement as he said, "Look at our little dancer." Gaia's laughter bubbled forth as she replied, "She knows how to light up a room. I just wish the ugly lizard was here." Their voices mingled with the music and laughter, a symphony of love and happiness. The beauty of the moment was not lost on them, as they reveled in the love and unity that surrounded them. The wedding, a celebration of their love, had become a joyous occasion for all, a testament to the bonds forged through friendship and shared experiences. As the night unfolded, the dance floor became a whirlwind of movement, with guests of all ages and backgrounds joining in the festivities. The once reserved vampires allowed themselves to be carried away by the rhythm, their graceful movements intertwining with those of their human counterparts. Amidst the delight and joy that filled the air, unbeknownst to the guests, a different presence loomed in the distant realm of gods. The god of war, a powerful and enigmatic deity, had taken notice of the momentous occasion taking place on the small island. Only the passage of time held the answer to the god's intentions. Would he choose to grace the wedding with his presence, bestowing his blessings upon the union of Gaia and Michael? Or would his wrath be unleashed, throwing the joyous celebration into chaos and upheaval? As the music played and the laughter resonated, the guests reveled in their happiness, unaware of the potential storm brewing in the realm of gods. Destiny would unfold in due course, and only then would the true nature of the god of war's intentions be revealed. For now, the island remained a haven of joy and celebration, a sanctuary where love and unity reigned supreme. Time, the ever-watchful observer, would soon reveal whether the god of war's presence would bring blessings or unleash the tempest of his wrath upon the unsuspecting wedding party. Chapter 991. War God of the Pantheon. While Michael's marriage celebration was going on full swing in the realm of gods, where chaos and rumors of Dagon's return swirled, a towering figure commanded attention. This godly being was Rudra, the war god, a sight to behold. Standing taller and broader than any mortal, his muscular frame exuded power and strength. His fiery red hair cascaded down his back, complementing his commanding presence. Adorned in gleaming golden armor, Rudra's arms were protected, while his sculpted chest and well-defined abs were proudly displayed. His shoulders bore the weight of majestic lion heads, intricately crafted and attached to his shoulder plates, symbolizing his ferocity and dominance. Atop a hill, on a bed of gold, Rudra reclined, a goblet of wine in his hand. The setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and gold, casting a warm glow upon the god's features. His aura resonated with divine power, radiating an aura of authority and awe-inspiring might. The mountaintop where Rudra found solace was strewn with fragments of stone, remnants of golems that had met their demise during his relentless training. Each shattered piece bore testament to the god's formidable strength and unwavering dedication to his craft. In this tranquil moment, Rudra, the embodiment of war and battle, found respite. The world outside may have been plagued by chaos and rumors, but here on his golden throne, he could bask in the glory of his own divinity. As Rudra reveled in his pocket dimension, an intrusive light pierced through the serenity. Annoyance etched upon his features. He shook his head disapprovingly, disrupted from his cherished moment of relaxation. Gradually, the luminous glow transformed into the ethereal figure of a woman with radiant golden hair. "Seraphine, I don't recall extending an invitation to my domain," Rudra asserted with a commanding voice that resonated like thunder. "We have discovered the graces of the gods trapped in the mortal realm." "Rudra," Seraphine disclosed, her tone carrying a mixture of astonishment and concern. Unfazed by Seraphine's news, Rudra exhibited no emotions, except for his irritation at having his peaceful time disturbed by the goddess of information. "Good for you," he retorted dismissively, reclining once more upon his opulent golden bed, deliberately averting his gaze from Seraphine. "They were imprisoned within the temple of the god of darkness, and Dagon has released them," Seraphine divulged. The moment Rudra heard the names God of Darkness and Dagon, his nonchalant facade dissipated, replaced by a flicker of excitement as he lifted his gaze to meet Seraphine's expectant eyes. Amused, Rudra contemplated the revelation. "So, all this time the graces were hiding right under our noses. And Dagon, how did he manage to breach our realm from the depths of hell? I can only imagine the frenzy the Pantheon must be in," he mused, flexing his formidable godly muscles. "Andor is currently handling Dagon's presence. The Pantheon requests that you ensure Dagon's swift return to the depths of hell," Seraphine conveyed, prompting a chuckle from Rudra. "Andor? That guy always complicates matters for the sake of appearing like a master strategist." All he does is waste time and lays around all day. Hold on a moment, you mentioned Dagon freeing the Graces from the Dark God's temple. Didn't you inform me that Dagon was unable to breach our realm through the protective barrier surrounding the mortal realm? Rudra inquired. Seraphine sighed wearily, continuing with her explanation. Somehow Dagon managed to momentarily enter our realm and unleash the Graces. I am now certain he is amassing his forces within the realm between. As a fallen god, Dagon possesses the ability to transcend the barrier erected by the Dark God. The only hindrance preventing his full incursion into our realm is the artifacts that bind him to hell. Andor leads the Skyhall army against Dagon's Hell Walkers. However, Andor cannot unleash his full power without leaving that damn castle. So, you expect me to venture into the realm between and join forces with Andor's mortal army? Rudra questioned, his tone dripping with disdain at the mere suggestion put forth by Seraphine. Let me make this clear, Rudra. Dagon is unable to escape hell until his Hell Walkers break the artifacts within the realm between. Andor is confined to his castle, unable to enter the realm of gods, and we are unable to step into the mortal realm until the barrier created by the Dark God is dismantled. The Pantheon desires the Dark God's current incarnation to break the remaining 3 seals, allowing us to breach the barrier and confront Dagon directly in hell. Do you understand? Seraphine explained, simplifying the intricate situation. It seems straightforward enough. Although I'm certain the Pantheon and Andor have concocted an elaborate plan to make themselves appear as masters of the universe, pulling off intricate strategies and such, Rudra chuckled at the thought of the Pantheon's machinations. Things are not as simple as they may appear, Rudra. Perhaps for you, the war god who charges into battle with sheer brute force and no need for elaborate plans, Seraphine remarked with a serious tone. I always have a plan, Seraphine. It's called power. Overwhelming power surpasses strategies any day, Rudra stated confidently, rising from his golden bed to face Seraphine. No matter how intricate an ant's plans may be, all it takes is a single step to crush both their plan and their life, Rudra declared confidently, causing Seraphine to sigh in resignation. She knew better than to argue with Rudra, for he had proven himself victorious time and time again against the enemies of the Pantheon. After all, he was the god of war for a reason. Will you venture into the realm in between? Seraphine asked, seeking a direct answer. However, instead of responding immediately, Rudra lifted his wine glass, savoring a slow sip before continuing. Fighting the Hell Walkers would serve no purpose. A war cannot be won by winning a solitary battle. Victory in this war with Dagon will only be achieved when his head lies severed on the ground. To defeat him, we must confront him at his weakest point, Rudra explained, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Seraphine couldn't help but grin inwardly, recognizing the fervor that always consumed Rudra. While he may not possess the strategic prowess of Andor, when it came to winning wars, there was no god more adept than the god of war himself. What do you propose, Rudra? As I've said, I dislike convoluted plans. My strategy is simple. I shall send a fraction of my divine essence into the mortal realm, locating the 3 seal bearers and allowing the current incarnation of the Dark God to eliminate them. This will grant us access to hell, where we can confront Dagon directly before he sets foot in our realm. Rudra outlined his plan, noting the alignment with Andor's own strategy. Normally, Seraphine would never involve Rudra and Andor in the same endeavor, for their mutual animosity ran deep. However, time was of the essence, and the Pantheon needed Rudra's formidable presence. What about the Dark God? What do you intend to do with him? Seraphine inquired, her curiosity piqued. She knew that 5,000 years ago, Rudra had harbored a burning desire to confront the god of darkness. However, the Dark God had reset the universe and erected a formidable barrier between the mortal realm and the realm of gods, effectively preventing a clash between them. Rudra had been denied the opportunity to engage in battle with his ancient adversary. But now, with Rudra's power to send a sliver of his grace through the weakened barrier following the demise of several seal bearers, the long-awaited clash between the god of darkness and the god of war seemed feasible. What is he up to in the mortal realm? Rudra inquired, withholding his own plan involving the god of darkness for the time being. He is getting married, Seraphine revealed, causing Rudra to click his tongue in response. Then I shall wait. I am not an asshole and have no desire to disrupt a wedding. Let him embark on this new chapter of his life without interference, Rudra declared, devoid of any ill intentions towards the god of darkness. You are aware that he cannot be killed without the dash. Seraphine's sentence was abruptly cut off as Rudra interjected. He may be unkillable for now, but I can weaken him to the point where he will no longer pose a threat, Rudra snickered, his confidence evident. But that is not a permanent solution, Rudra. He has the potential to regain his strength, Seraphine argued. Then I will face him time and time again until you strategists come up with a more viable approach. After all, we gods have nothing but time on our hands, Rudra declared, his determination unwavering. Then Rudra placed his fingers on his forehead, tapping into the immense power that flowed through him. With a swift motion, he extracted a small sliver of golden thread, pulsating with his divine grace. Holding it up, he turned to face Seraphine. This tiny fragment of my grace will accomplish more than Andor's complicated plans ever could, Rudra proclaimed confidently. With a flick of his wrist, he released the sliver of grace, watching as it disappeared into the vast expanse of the golden sky, making its way toward the mortal realm. Seraphine raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. But Rudra, your grace requires a mortal vessel in the mortal realm. How do you plan to accomplish that? Rudra grinned mischievously, his eyes gleaming with unspoken knowledge. Fear not, Seraphine. I still have devoted worshippers in the mortal realm who would gladly offer their physical bodies for the manifestation of my grace. They shall be the vessels through which my power will flow. Seraphine nodded, realizing the extent of Rudra's connection to his followers. She understood that their unwavering devotion would provide the conduits necessary for his divine grace to manifest in the mortal realm. In the vast tapestry of the divine realm, each god was a protagonist in their own story, with their own trials, triumphs, and quests. The god of darkness, the god of war, the god of time and space, and the fallen god Dagon all played their roles, guided by the invisible hand of fate. Their choices, desires, and motivations wove together, bringing them into conflict and forging alliances that remained hidden from the rest of the realm of gods. Among them, it was the god of darkness who found common ground with Dagon, the fallen god. Together, they formed an unexpected alliance that threatened the delicate balance of power. The true motives of Dagon's rebellion and the intricate relationship between the god of darkness and Dagon remained concealed, awaiting a time when the threads of fate would be pulled, unraveling the mysteries of their intertwined stories. As the sliver of grace continued its journey, Rudra and Seraphine stood in the realm of gods, contemplating the imminent events that would unfold. The fate of both realms hung in the balance, and Rudra's bold plan would set into motion a series of events that could change the course of their existence. Chapter 992, War God crashes the wedding. As the wedding celebration of Michael and Gaia reached its peak, the atmosphere was filled with joy, laughter, and the infectious rhythm of music. The guests danced and reveled in the happiness of the occasion, their hearts light and carefree. Amidst the merriment, Michael, the groom, glanced up at the night sky and noticed a sudden glimmer of light. It caught his attention, and an uneasy feeling settled in the pit of his stomach. Sensing something amiss, he discreetly activated the earpiece hidden beneath his neatly tailored suit. "Spider, I've spotted a strange light in the sky. Check it out discreetly and report back," Michael whispered urgently, ensuring that Gaia remained unaware of his concerns. Before the Vampire Death Squad could acknowledge his command, the glimmer of light in the sky rapidly intensified, closing the distance with astonishing speed. Gasps of surprise escaped from the guests' lips as the light descended upon the island, illuminating the surroundings with an otherworldly brilliance. The arrival of this unexpected visitor left everyone in a state of shock, their festivities momentarily forgotten. Wide-eyed and speechless, they watched as the radiant figure emerged from the light, its ethereal presence captivating their attention. The air crackled with a sense of anticipation, as if the world itself held its breath in awe of this extraordinary arrival. However, the true nature and purpose of this enigmatic visitor remained a mystery, shrouded in uncertainty. The scene was frozen in time, with whispers of speculation and trepidation circulating through the crowd. The joyous celebration now stood at a crossroads, its path veering into the realm of the unknown. As the golden light dissipated, revealing the figure within, a hushed silence fell over the crowd. The guests' eyes widened in astonishment as they beheld the sight before them, an orc unlike any they had ever encountered. His crimson skin stood out in stark contrast to his intricate white and blue tattoos that adorned his muscular physique. Tusks protruded from his mouth, and numerous piercings adorned his body, glinting ominously under the moonlight. The orc's eyes blazed with an otherworldly light, radiating an aura of power that sent shivers down the spines of those who stood in his presence. Without a second thought, Saber lunged forward, determined to end the life of this uninvited guest. But before Saber could even reach the orc, a powerful gust of wind erupted from the orc's body, sending the valiant warrior hurtling backward. The sheer force of the blast sent Saber flying off the island, his body crashing into the waters below. The destructive wind tore through the surroundings, obliterating everything in its path, causing chaos and throwing the remaining guests off balance. Michael, paralyzed with shock and disbelief, couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. He couldn't discern the orc's cultivation level, but the overwhelming power emanating from the orc was palpable, leaving Michael and the others in a state of trepidation. With an instinctive surge of protective energy, Michael swiftly stepped in front of Gaia, his eyes blazing with determination. Two dark beams shot forth from his gaze, cutting through the air with an ominous hiss. "Aladir, activate the runes," Michael commanded, his voice laced with urgency. In response to his command, the three portals positioned at the edge of the island burst into life, emanating a brilliant light that grew in intensity. A powerful pulling force gripped the guests, drawing them towards the portals against their will. The wedding scene was suddenly thrown into chaos as bewildered and frightened cries filled the air. "Everyone hold on. We need to get out of here," Michael shouted, his voice barely audible above the turmoil. Shock and disbelief etched across the faces of the guests as they found themselves helpless, unable to resist the overwhelming power radiating from the enigmatic orc. The once jubilant atmosphere had been replaced with a sense of vulnerability and fear. In the midst of the pandemonium, Michael shielded Gaia, his beloved wife, with his own body, sheltering her from harm. His focus never wavered as he directed his dark beams toward the menacing orc, determined to confront this formidable foe head-on. The once joyous wedding scene was abruptly thrown into chaos as the power radiating from the orc engulfed the island. Gasps of astonishment filled the air as guests stumbled backward, their faces etched with shock and disbelief. "What the hell is happening?" Trista exclaimed, her voice trembling with fear. Tiberius, wide-eyed and bewildered, looked around in disbelief. "Who is this? Why can't I move?" Arya, her hands shaking, whispered in disbelief, "This power, it's overwhelming. We're completely powerless." Claire, her voice quivering, managed to utter, "Take Cindy and run to the portal." Gibson tightened his grip on Cindy's hand, his voice filled with urgency. "Stay close, Cindy. We need to find safety." Corey, his expression a mix of awe and fear, muttered, "This power, it's beyond anything I've ever witnessed." Optimus, his usually calm demeanor shattered, exclaimed, "No ordinary foe. Who is this orc?" The guests, overwhelmed by the immense power radiating from the orc, looked to Michael with a mixture of hope and desperation, realizing that their only chance lay in the strength and determination of the bride and groom. The fate of the wedding celebration hung precariously in the balance as the battle between light and darkness loomed ominously overhead. The once serene wedding scene transformed into a chaotic spectacle as the power radiating from the orc overwhelmed the island. The orc's imposing presence left everyone stunned and paralyzed with fear. The very atmosphere crackled with an otherworldly energy, causing hair to stand on end and sending shivers down the spines of those present. The orc's red-skinned visage, adorned with intricate tattoos and piercings, exuded an aura of dominance and malevolence. His glowing eyes bore into the crowd, relishing the fear that danced across their faces. Michael, shielding Gaia with his body, unleashed his dark beams upon the orc, hoping to subdue the intruder. The beams of darkness struck the orc's head, but to the shock of everyone, nothing happened. The orc remained unfazed, a smug smirk etched upon his lips, defying the powerful onslaught with disdain. Gaia, realizing the urgency of the situation, summoned her celestial bow and a quiver of ethereal arrows materialized by her side. Determination replaced the fear in her eyes as she stepped forward, ready to confront the menacing intruder. The bride, radiating a blend of grace and strength, prepared herself for the battle that now threatened to overshadow her wedding day. Amidst the chaos, guests stumbled and scrambled for cover, their movements hindered by the overpowering presence of the orc. Their attempts to rally against the intruder proved futile as the force emanating from the orc left them weak and powerless, their limbs heavy as if burdened by invisible chains. The once immaculate wedding venue now bore the scars of the chaotic upheaval. Tables and decorations lay in disarray, tossed aside by the gusts of wind that erupted from the orc's very being. The vibrant flowers that once adorned the aisle were trampled underfoot, petals scattered like remnants of a shattered dream. "Now, Aladir!" Michael shouted, his voice filled with urgency and determination. In response, Aladir clenched a golden crystal in his hand, crushing it with a resounding crack. As the crystal shattered, the pulling force emanating from the portals multiplied several folds, causing the air to tremble with their intensity. The portals, now unleashed with unprecedented power, surged with an insatiable hunger, greedily drawing everything in their path towards their swirling depths. The orc, his eyes fixed on Michael, proclaimed with a chilling certainty, "I am only here for the god of darkness." With a flick of his wrist, 3 figures materialized out of thin air before the orc. Among them stood Samuel, the gray-haired butler of the Winston family, his neatly combed hair contrasting with the chaos unfolding around him. The sight of Samuel stunned Michael, his mind reeling with the implications of the orc's words. But before Michael could react, the orc's lightning-quick movements outpaced his reflexes. In one swift motion, the orc seized Samuel by the neck, using the helpless butler as a shield. A malicious grin danced upon the orc's face as he directed Michael's own dark beams towards Samuel's head. Time seemed to slow as the dark beams pierced through Samuel's skull, shattering bone and unleashing a crimson spray of blood. The lifeless body crumpled to the ground, an innocent victim caught in the crossfire of this ruthless battle. Amidst the chaos, the scene unfolded with a stark contrast. On one side, the portals, their power amplified, exerted an irresistible force, tugging at everything in their path. Tables, chairs, and decorations were ripped from their positions, uprooted by the voracious pull. On the other side, a battle of immense power and stakes played out. Michael, shielded by darkness, stood alongside Gaia, his eyes filled with fury. The orc, a formidable adversary, remained resolute, his aura pulsating with a malevolent energy that rendered everyone around him weak and powerless. In this tumultuous clash between the forces of chaos and order, the island became a battleground of conflicting energies. The portals greedily devoured the surroundings, tearing apart the remnants of the once serene wedding scene. And amidst the swirling chaos, the battle between Michael and the orc raged on, with bloodshed and despair marking the unfortunate path they tread. The vampire death squad landed on the island with swift precision, their presence a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. They quickly assessed the situation, their red eyes scanning the tumultuous scene. Working together, they rallied the remaining guests, guiding them towards the portals that thrummed with an irresistible pull. Amidst the pandemonium, Michael's heart pounded with a desperate desire to save Gaia from the clutches of this immensely powerful foe. With determination etched on his face, he reached out and grasped Gaia's hand, his grip firm and resolute. With all his strength, he propelled her towards the nearest portal, his intention clear. But in the midst of the airborne journey towards the portal, Gaia's body moved with a swift fluidity. With a sudden twist, she knocked an arrow upon her bowstring and took aim at the orc, defying Michael's intention to guide her to safety. The tension in the air was palpable as Gaia's fingers released the arrow, its trajectory carrying it towards the orc with a lethal intent. In a display of godly speed, the possessed orc, fueled by Rudra's sliver of grace, dashed towards Michael with a swiftness that defied comprehension. The air crackled with anticipation as the orc's movements became a blur, evading Michael's punches and kicks with uncanny agility. Despite the orc's imposing size, it maneuvered with the grace of a predator, effortlessly eluding Michael's onslaught. The ground trembled beneath them as Michael's dark beams shot forth from his eyes, slicing through the earth with devastating precision. The surroundings bore the scars of their deadly power, split apart and rent in halves, a testament to the ferocity of the battle. But the orc, an embodiment of Rudra's divine essence, proved elusive, nimble in its evasion. Each blow was met with a deft sidestep, each kick evaded with a fluid movement that seemed to defy the laws of physics. In the midst of this violent ballet, the orc seized an opportunity, delivering a powerful punch to Michael's chest with an impact that sent him hurtling through the ground, the earth quaking beneath the force. Gaia's voice echoed through the chaos, her heartrending cry of, "No!" a testament to her anguish and determination. The air hung heavy with tension as the battle raged on, the clash of power and the stakes at hand becoming a swirling vortex of uncertainty. As agony surged through Michael's body, his advanced personal device, APD, around his wrist sensed his critical condition. With mechanical precision, the APD swiftly injected a potent healing potion into his bloodstream, mending his damaged organs and revitalizing his strength. Ignoring the lingering pain, Michael rose to his feet, determination etched across his face. With a fierce resolve, he lunged forward, his hands outstretched, and the dark swords materialized in his grip, crackling with ominous energy. The orc's lips curled into a menacing smirk as he taunted, his voice laced with a mix of curiosity and sadistic glee, "Let me see the infamous god of darkness in action. Show me what you're truly capable of." The power radiating from the orc, fueled by Rudra's sliver of grace, created an aura that disrupted the very fabric of magic around them. The teleportation scrolls, a potential escape route, faltered in their effectiveness, rendered useless in the face of this overwhelming force. Rudra, in his strategic cunning, did not want the god of darkness to slip away until the remaining two seal-bearers, who had materialized beside Samuel, were eliminated. In this charged moment of clash and determination, the readers witness Michael's resilience and unwavering resolve. They can feel the weight of the orc's taunts and the pulsating energy that surrounds them, drawing them deeper into the scene as the battle unfolds. With a swift and relentless assault, Michael swung his dark swords at the orc, determined to keep him at bay and away from Gaia. The blades sliced through the air with precision, but the orc's invisible force field proved impenetrable, rendering Gaia's arrows useless as they harmlessly bounced off the ethereal barrier. In a moment of triumph, Michael managed to land a shallow cut across the orc's chest, causing blood to spatter in the air. However, the strength of the orc's skin astonished Michael, as the wound appeared far less severe than anticipated. The orc's taunting laughter echoed through the chaos, further fueling Michael's determination. Suddenly, the orc's grip tightened around Michael's hand, restraining his movements. With his other hand outstretched, the orc reached for one of the remaining seal-bearers, a frail old man cloaked in dark brown fabric. In a cruel twist of fate, the old man was lifted effortlessly into the orc's colossal palm, his terrified gaze meeting Michael's. As the orc's power overpowered Michael's resistance, he helplessly watched as his own hand, guided by the orc's malevolent will, slashed across the seal-bearer's head. Blood erupted, painting a macabre scene of horror as the head was severed, the lifeless eyes staring into nothingness. The orc's triumphant voice reverberated through the chaotic battleground, chilling the air. 2 down, 1 to go. Overwhelmed by the orc's otherworldly strength, Michael felt as though he was battling a force beyond comprehension. Every move he made seemed feeble in comparison, as if pitted against an unstoppable entity. Chapter 993, Is She a God Too? With a wicked smile, the orc, now fully possessed by Rudra's sliver of grace, raised his hand to the sky, invoking the power of the gods. A golden lightning bolt crackled and materialized in his grasp, pulsating with immense energy. With a swift motion, he plunged the bolt deep into the ground, unleashing a cataclysmic explosion of raw power. The force of the explosion sent shockwaves rippling through the island, shattering the surroundings and throwing everyone into disarray. Gaia, caught in the midst of the chaos, plummeted from the sky, crashing violently onto the ground. Her vision blurred, a mixture of pain and disorientation gripping her as she struggled to regain her bearings. Through her hazy vision, Gaia glimpsed the orc, his speed unfathomable, closing in on Michael. The air crackled with malevolence as dark flames erupted from Michael's body, consuming everything in their path. The searing heat licked at the surroundings, devouring the once vibrant landscape in a dance of destruction. Gaia's heart pounded in her chest as she watched in horror, her voice lost amidst the chaos. The scene unfolded before her eyes with vivid intensity, each detail etched into her memory. The orc's savage charge, Michael engulfed in those dark, merciless flames. The dark flames roared with an insatiable hunger, engulfing the grassland surrounding Michael and Gaia. The intense heat radiated from the flames, raising the temperature to unbearable levels. The orc, its skin melting and bubbling under the scorching onslaught, seemed unfazed by the agony it should have been experiencing. Instead, a sinister snicker escaped its deformed mouth as it extended its hand towards the last remaining seal-bearer. The young man in white robes cried out in terror as the orc's hand closed around him, the searing heat of the dark flames seeping into his very being. His anguished screams pierced the air, a haunting testament to the merciless fate that awaited him. The dark flames consumed him relentlessly, reducing his form to a pile of hot ash, leaving nothing but remnants of his existence. As the life force of the third seal-bearer was extinguished, a sudden rumble echoed through the sky. For a fleeting moment, a crack tore open the sky, a glimpse into a realm beyond mortal comprehension. The crack shimmered with an otherworldly light, hinting at the immense power and consequence tied to the seal-bearer's demise. However, as quickly as it appeared, the crack closed, leaving behind only a sense of foreboding and uncertainty. The orc stood tall, its form grotesquely transformed as its skin melted away, revealing the raw skeletal structure beneath. In this macabre state, the orc raised its hands, bony fingers extended towards Michael. Countless golden lightning bolts crackled to life, surging forth with malevolent intent. Michael, recognizing the imminent danger, summoned a responsive shield around him. The shield, translucent and glowing with a vibrant blue hue, materialized just in time to intercept the incoming lightning bolts. However, the power behind the orc's attack proved overwhelming, as the bolts shattered the shield like fragile glass, penetrating through to strike Michael. Agony seared through Michael's body as the lightning coursed through his veins. Blood tainted the corners of his lips as he coughed it up, his strength waning with each passing moment. Paralysis gripped his limbs, rendering him helpless against the orc's relentless assault. With a chilling smirk, the orc raised its hand, exerting a force that pulled Michael closer. His feet dragged across the ground as he was lifted effortlessly by his neck, suspended in the grip of his merciless adversary. The acrid scent of burning grass mingled with the sickening odor of charred flesh, filling the air with a haunting reminder of the devastation surrounding them. The metallic tang of blood lingered, a testament to the violence that had unfolded on the island. As the orc's skin continued to melt away, revealing the gruesome sight of its skull, a grim and horrifying visage emerged. Its eye sockets held an otherworldly glow, and the lack of flesh on its face heightened the eeriness of its presence. Disappointment laced the orc's voice as it shook its skull-like head. "Not impressed," it uttered, its voice laden with mockery. The grip around Michael's neck tightened, constricting his airway and leaving him gasping for precious breaths. Summoning his remaining strength, Michael called upon his dark swords. One of the swords began to levitate toward his outstretched arm, a last-ditch effort to regain control of the situation. However, the orc, swift and cunning, swatted the sword aside, redirecting its trajectory towards Gaia. The hilt of the sword struck Gaia with a resounding thud, knocking her unconscious before she could even rise to her feet. Panic and concern flashed in Michael's eyes as he gasped for air, his voice strained. "Who are you?" he managed to rasp, his words carrying a mixture of defiance and desperation. As Michael's thoughts raced, he knew that the time had come to initiate Plan D, the contingency he had devised for facing an adversary of insurmountable power. Just as the weight of the situation began to settle upon him, the sky above them rumbled with a newfound intensity, as if in response to his desperate plea. Amidst the stormy clouds, a golden light broke through the darkness, illuminating the scene with an ethereal glow. To their astonishment, the once turbulent seas surrounding the island turned eerily calm, contrasting the tumultuous skies above. With a thunderous boom, the golden light descended from the heavens, its brilliance fading gradually to reveal the figure of Nithrol, the Empress of Ar. Her golden locks billowed around her like a halo, and she stood adorned in intricately crafted golden armor that covered her from neck to toe. Every movement exuded an aura of divine power and grace, marking her as an otherworldly goddess. Soon, a golden bow materialized in her hand, emanating a radiant energy that seemed to pulse with ancient enchantments. As she pulled back the string, an arrow adorned with intricate runes materialized, poised to be released at her command. The mere sight of her presence instilled a sense of awe and reverence, for she embodied a force that transcended mortal comprehension. Nithrol's voice resonated with a commanding authority that seemed to shake the very foundations of the island. "Let him go, Rudra. Your fight lies somewhere else," she declared, her words echoing through the air and reaching every corner of the island. The power behind her voice carried a weight that commanded attention and respect. As her words hung in the air, a golden aura enveloped Nithrol, radiating from her being like a shield of divine energy. The orc, possessed by Rudra's sliver of grace, stared at her with a sliver of surprise emerging in his glowing eyes. The unexpected turn of events momentarily caught him off guard, questioning the path he had taken. The tension in the air was palpable as the Empress and the possessed orc locked eyes, each representing a formidable force in their own right. The outcome of this encounter held the potential to reshape the course of events, and the witnesses on the island stood frozen, captivated by the clash of powers unfolding before them. The orc, now barely recognizable as a humanoid figure, threw aside Michael's limp body and turned its attention fully towards Nithrol. The last shreds of skin clung to its smoking, charred body, as if defying the intense heat of the dark flames that consumed it. From the mouth of the orc, Rudra's voice resonated, carrying a mix of calmness, excitement, and a sliver of surprise. "I can see you've regained your grace, Nithrol, the goddess of hunt. How long has it been since we last saw each other?" The words flowed from Rudra with a calculated ease, as if he relished the encounter, savoring the chance to face his former ally. Nithrol responded to the orc, now possessed by Rudra, with a cold and stern tone. "Leave this realm, Rudra. You have no right to be here," she stated, her voice devoid of any warmth or sympathy. Her gaze remained fixed upon the deteriorating figure before her. Rudra's voice, still emanating from the orc, grew even calmer and more playful. "Slow down with the threats, Nithrol. Yes, you may have regained your grace, but you are not as strong as you used to be," he taunted. The excitement in his voice was tinged with a hint of superiority, as if he believed he held the upper hand. Nithrol's response was icy and resolute. "Perhaps I cannot defeat you in your true form, Rudra, but I can still overcome this vessel that holds your grace. And time is not on your side. The dark flames that consume your vessel will soon bring its demise," she retorted, her words carrying an unwavering determination. Rudra, his presence fading within the crumbling vessel, snickered with a mixture of amusement and satisfaction. "Ah, Nithrol, my task in this mortal realm is now complete. I have no mind to stay any longer," he remarked, his voice betraying a playful undertone. However, underlying his words was a genuine concern for the goddess standing before him. "Choose your side carefully, Nithrol," Rudra warned, his voice devoid of sympathy. "You wouldn't want to lose your grace once again." His words carried a subtle caution, a reminder of the consequences she might face if she aligned herself against the pantheon. Nithrol, her gaze unwavering, met Rudra's gaze with determination. "I have made my choice, Rudra," she declared with unwavering resolve. "I have left the pantheon and chosen to remain in the mortal realm. You needn't worry about me." Her response carried a resolute conviction, a statement that she had made her stand and was prepared to face the consequences of her decision. Though Rudra's concern for her was not evident in his voice, there was a flicker of admiration in his gaze, acknowledging the strength of her resolve. As the possessed orc's body crumbled to the ground, consumed by dark flames and reduced to a heap of smoldering ash, a golden light emerged from within. It shimmered and danced in the air, casting a soft glow upon the chaotic scene. Nithrol, her gaze fixed upon the dissipating light, watched as it slowly ascended towards the heavens, leaving the mortal realm behind. With a faint sigh of relief, she knew that Rudra's sliver of grace had departed, returning to its rightful place. The once vibrant wedding decorations now lay in ruins, charred and scattered across the grassy ground. The once jubilant atmosphere had been replaced by an eerie stillness, broken only by the soft crackling of smoldering embers. The bride and groom, their bodies sprawled motionless, were a stark contrast to the beauty they had exuded moments ago. Nithrol stepped cautiously over the remnants of shattered pillars and torn fabrics, her footsteps leaving imprints in the ash-covered ground. She approached the unconscious couple, her expression a mixture of concern and determination. With a gentle touch, she checked their pulses and found them to be faint but steady. A sense of relief washed over her as she realized that their lives had been spared in the midst of the chaos. Surveying the scene, Nithrol knew that there was much work to be done. The aftermath of this tumultuous encounter would not be easily forgotten. As Michael's consciousness slowly returned, he rose to his feet, his gaze immediately fixating on Gaia, lying unconscious nearby. With a mix of relief and concern etched on his face, he quickly made his way to her side, gently cradling her in his arms. Nithrol watched this intimate moment, understanding the depth of their connection and the strength it brought them. She respected their need for a moment of solace, a respite from the turmoil they had endured. But she also knew that there were questions to be answered, decisions to be made. As Michael's eyes met Nithrol's, she could see the weight of the recent events reflected in his gaze. The god of darkness, his presence formidable, acknowledged her with a nod, a silent recognition of the necessity to speak. Nithrol's voice, calm yet resolute, broke the silence. "We have much to discuss," she declared, her tone carrying a weight of urgency and purpose. Chapter 994. Finally learning about Andor. As the wind howled and the darkened sky hinted at an impending storm, Michael and Gaia stood alongside Nithrol on the edge of the mountain where their paths had first crossed. The Empress of Ar gazed into the distance, her eyes seemingly carrying the weight of ancient knowledge. In the pregnant silence, it was Michael who finally broke the stillness, his voice laced with curiosity and a touch of apprehension. "Who are you really? And who was that attacker?" Nithrol turned her gaze towards Michael, her expression calm yet tinged with a profound understanding of the gravity of their situation. "That was Rudra, the god of war," she replied, the mere mention of his name coinciding with a distant rumble of thunder that echoed through the ominous sky. Gaia's astonishment was evident as she grappled with the realization that they had been targeted by a deity, and one associated with war no less. However, both she and Michael sensed that Rudra's intentions went beyond mere destruction and that he had manipulated Michael as a pawn in his game, forcing him to take the lives of the 3 seal-bearers, including the butler of the Winston family. With a hint of uncertainty, Michael posed a question that had lingered in his mind ever since their first encounter. "Are you also a god?" His eyes held a flicker of recognition, sensing an inherent power within Nithrol that surpassed that of ordinary mortals. Although her aura bore similarities to the possessed orc's energy, it seemed to radiate with a slightly lesser intensity. The atmosphere around them crackled with anticipation as they awaited Nithrol's response, seeking clarity amidst the chaotic events that had unfolded. "I was once a god indeed. But now I am but a fallen deity." Nithrol's voice carried a hint of melancholy that mirrored the sadness reflected in her eyes. Gaia, her frustration palpable, interjected with a grumble, "Why the hell did that bastard ruin our wedding? When did we piss off the god of war?" Meanwhile, Nithrol sighed, her gaze still fixed upon the distant horizon. "He did not attack you directly. He used your husband as a means to break the seals," Nithrol clarified. As a goddess, she possessed knowledge beyond mortal comprehension. She understood that if Rudra truly intended to kill Ghost, he could have done so. While killing a god's vessel would only result in their soul seeking a new host, there was no denying that Rudra's purpose was not to end Michael's mortal existence. Perhaps his intentions shifted upon encountering Nithrol, but it was evident that his aim had been to manipulate Michael into eliminating the seal-bearers. "The seals?" Michael's brow furrowed in confusion. "Yes. In your previous life, you constructed an intricate array that acted as a barrier between the mortal realm and the realm of gods, preventing mortals from entering the divine domain and vice versa." Nithrol began to unravel the complexities of the situation. "Unbeknownst to you, these seals were embedded within individuals who were not even born during your previous self's time. Only you possess the power to break these seals by slaying the designated seal-bearers. Each time a seal-bearer dies, the barrier between our realms weakens. Once all the seals are broken, the gods will regain the ability to traverse freely between the mortal realm and the divine realm, as they did in the past." However, Nithrol herself remained unaware of the variations within the seals, specifically those designed by the previous Dark Lord and Eladir in their respective timelines. This explained how Diana, in Michael's timeline, managed to break one of the seals when she killed the seal-bearer by name. As Michael processed the weight of Nithrol's words, she continued to unravel the perilous web that entangled them all. "The Pantheon has initiated their movements against Dagon, and now you find yourself caught in the crossfire of their war," Nithrol stated, her voice laced with concern. "What you encountered was merely a sliver of Rudra's grace, a mere 1% of his full power. Consider, then, the unimaginable might wielded by an entire pantheon of gods and the vengeful god who desired to see you crumble." Michael and Gaia were left stunned, the mention of a vengeful god sending shivers down their spines. Unable to contain his curiosity, Michael posed the question that gnawed at him. "Who is this vengeful god?" he inquired, his voice betraying a mix of apprehension and intrigue. "Andor, the god of time and space," Nithrol replied, her gaze piercing their souls. "My memories of him remain fragmented, but one thing remains certain. You cannot remain in this realm for much longer. The other fallen gods will soon regain their graces and seek you out. You are not yet prepared to face the wrath of the gods, and even I cannot aid you should more deities descend upon this realm." An array of questions swirled in Michael's mind, yet one in particular burned with intensity. "Why are you helping me?" Michael questioned, his voice filled with genuine curiosity. Nithrol's eyes softened, her gaze holding a flicker of determination. "I cherish ruling the mortal realm, Ghost," she confessed. "But the Pantheon seeks to transform mortals into their slaves. Once they arrive in this realm, each god will demand unwavering devotion and worship from mortals. Those who dare defy them will be made examples of, and gradually, this realm will devolve into a vast slave market, devoid of free will and consumed by blind loyalty. The only thing that preventing this grim fate is the barrier between the two realms." As Nithrol's words resonated within him, Michael recalled a haunting dream he once had, a glimpse of a world devoid of free will, where people existed as mere puppets. He couldn't help but wonder if that nightmarish vision was a consequence of the Pantheon's rule over the mortal realm. The weight of their predicament settled upon them like a suffocating fog, casting their future into uncertainty. The path ahead was treacherous, fraught with danger and the impending wrath of gods. With their newfound knowledge and the stakes laid bare before them, Michael, Gaia, and Nithrol stood on the precipice of a fateful journey, their destinies intertwined in the grand tapestry of divine machinations and mortal resistance. "But the barrier that your former self created is weakening, and only you possess the power to reinforce it, Nithrol explained, her voice filled with urgency. You must grow stronger and prepare to confront the gods, Ghost. Dagon cannot indefinitely divert the attention of the Pantheon. Michael's brows furrowed as he contemplated the mention of Dagon, the infamous ruler of hell. So, Dagon is also a fallen god? Gaia interjected, seeking clarification. Nithrol nodded in confirmation. Among mortals, you are already formidable with your half-celestial cultivation stage. However, the power of the gods resides on an entirely different plane. You must transcend the limitations of the celestial stage. Do not step foot into this world until you have done so, Nithrol advised, her tone resolute. As Nithrol spoke, Gaia's voice quivered with uncertainty. Where should we go? Idnes. The fallen gods cannot reach you there, Nithrol replied, conjuring images of the vibrant, neon-lit forests of Idnes and the loyal wood elves who inhabited its realms. I will go there once I gather the others at the castle, Michael stated, but Nithrol swiftly shook her head. No, Andor must have already learned of recent events and will be plotting his next move to hinder your path to Idnes. Time is of the essence and you cannot afford to waste a moment. You must depart now. I will do everything within my power to safeguard the others, but the odds are undeniably stacked against us, Ghost. Nithrol's voice grew intensely serious. Gaia pleaded, her voice filled with concern, at least let me bring my mother. Nithrol shook her head in response. My people are already on their way to ensure the safety of your mother and the others. Nithrol's words abruptly halted as her gaze shifted towards the distant sky, her focus returning to Michael once again. Go now, Nithrol urged, her voice carrying a sense of imminent danger. She swiftly gestured with her hands, summoning a golden portal that materialized in the air before them. Feeling the urgency in the goddess' words, Michael tightly grasped Gaia's hand and guided her toward the shimmering vortex. However, before stepping into the swirling portal, he turned back to face Nithrol, his eyes filled with curiosity. Why would you risk yourself to help me, Nithrol? Your assistance puts you in grave danger, Michael questioned, his voice tinged with both gratitude and concern. A gentle smile curved Nithrol's lips as she met his gaze. By aligning myself with you, Ghost, I stand a chance of maintaining my dominion over the mortal realm. If the Pantheon emerges victorious, we all suffer the consequences, she replied, her tone resolute. Raising her hand, Nithrol unleashed a sudden gust of wind, propelling Michael and Gaia forward, propelling them forcefully into the awaiting portal. The ethereal gateway closed behind them, leaving Nithrol behind. In that fleeting moment as Michael and Gaia disappeared into the unknown, Nithrol stood tall, her golden hair dancing in the wind. With unwavering determination, she prepared to face the oncoming storm, knowing that her alliance with Michael carried the weight of both their destinies and the fate of the mortal realm itself. With a swift and fluid motion, Nithrol summoned her golden bow, a gleaming masterpiece crafted with intricate detail. Her grip tightened around the polished wood as she notched an arrow, its tip adorned with ancient runes of power. Drawing the bowstring back, she took aim at the distant sky, her eyes locked onto the approaching figures of the fallen gods. A surge of divine energy coursed through her, heightening her senses and honing her focus. The arrow she released soared through the air, defying mortal limitations as it streaked across the vast expanse with unerring accuracy. It traversed a tremendous distance, seemingly defying both time and space. As the arrow cut through the air, a tempest began to brew, dark clouds rolling in to amplify the brewing chaos. Thunder rumbled in the heavens, their ominous roars echoing through the land. Nature itself seemed to respond to Nithrol's presence, lending its power to her as she prepared to face the fallen gods. Standing tall and resolute, the Empress of Ar remained steadfast in the face of imminent danger. Her golden armor shimmered in the fading light, radiant and unyielding. With every passing moment, the storm grew fiercer, the elements aligning with her purpose. Nithrol knew the odds were stacked against her, confronting a pantheon of formidable adversaries. Yet she refused to back down, her determination unshakable. The goddess of Hunt stood as a beacon of defiance, ready to challenge the encroaching darkness with all her might. As the fallen gods drew closer, their powerful presence palpable, Nithrol braced herself for the impending clash. She would fight for the preservation of the mortal realm, for the freedom of its inhabitants, and for the hope that her alliance with Michael would pave the way for a future untainted by the tyranny of the Pantheon. We are nearing 1,000 chapters and I can't thank you all my wonderful readers for keep supporting me. Chapter 995, Returning to Itnes Chapter 995. Returning to Itnes. As Michael and Gaia emerged from the portal onto the land of Itnes, a breathtaking panorama unfolded before them. Gaia's eyes widened in awe as she took in the enchanting sight that lay stretched out beneath her. They stood atop a verdant mountain peak, overlooking a vast expanse of lush forest that extended as far as the eye could see. The forest itself seemed to be an artist's canvas, splashed with vibrant hues of purple and blue. It was a kaleidoscope of colors that blended seamlessly, creating an otherworldly spectacle. Giant trees towered over the landscape, their trunks adorned with intricate patterns and ethereal glow. The forest floor was carpeted with lush, emerald-green moss, adding a softness to the terrain. Towering mushrooms, their caps adorned with mesmerizing patterns, dotted the forest floor, creating a whimsical ambience. As Gaia's gaze wandered further, she caught sight of trees that radiated a gentle luminescent glow, casting a soft and enchanting light that illuminated the surroundings. These radiant trees bathed the forest in an otherworldly glow, adding an ethereal touch to the already mesmerizing landscape. The air was filled with the gentle fluttering of giant butterflies, their wings adorned with iridescent colors that shimmered as they danced through the air. Their presence added a touch of magic to the already captivating scene. The forest of Itnes seemed like a place plucked from a fairy tale, a realm where dreams and reality intertwined. Its beauty was captivating, an immersive experience that stirred the senses and transported one to a world of wonder and enchantment. In that moment, as the gentle breeze caressed her cheeks and the symphony of the forest serenaded her ears, Gaia knew that Itnes was a place of refuge, a sanctuary from the turmoil that awaited them. "Come on, we should go meet Eladir," Michael said, surprising Gaia. "Eladir? But I thought he was stuck back in our world," Gaia replied, her confusion evident. "No, in case of an attack, I gave Eladir something to teleport into this world with," Michael explained, glancing at his wrist. Unfortunately, his battle with Rudra had broken his Olympus, leaving him without the ability to fly or use his cultivation in this world. However, Michael had a quick solution in mind. "Do you know where to go?" "My Olympus is not broken," Gaia remarked, hopeful. Before Michael could respond, a magnificent golden giant butterfly emerged from the air below the mountain cliff they stood on, accompanied by a powerful gust of wind. Gaia's eyes widened in astonishment as two elves with beautiful brown skin gracefully descended from the butterfly and immediately knelt before Michael. "My lord, you have returned," Taskin said, bowing his head respectfully. "Gaia, meet Taskin and Thilv." Michael introduced the two wood elves to Gaia, acknowledging their loyalty and courage during the events he had shared with her. "Ah, the two warriors who fought against the Sky Hall," Gaia remembered, recalling the tales Michael had shared. "Tell me, Taskin, has anyone else arrived here before us?" Michael inquired, his curiosity piqued. Thilv and Taskin nodded in response. "Yes, my lord. He claimed to have been sent by you and showed us your symbol. We left him back at the village," Taskin reported dutifully. "Good. Then let's make our way to your village." "We have much to do," Michael declared, gesturing for Gaia to join him atop the butterfly. With a swift leap, Gaia gracefully climbed onto their ride, her torn and dirted dress contrasting against her natural beauty. Michael stepped onto the butterfly's wings and waited for Taskin and Thilv to take hold of the reins. Once everyone had settled comfortably atop the giant golden butterfly, they set off toward the village. As the majestic butterfly soared through the air, the wind rushed past them, carrying with it the scent of flowers and the distant melody of birds singing. The landscape unfolded beneath them, showcasing the enchanting beauty of Itnes. Butterflies of all sizes and hues fluttered around, their graceful wings adding splashes of brilliance to the scenery. The air itself felt alive, carrying the invigorating aroma of blossoms and the sweet fragrance of nature's abundance. As the golden butterfly gradually descended, it skillfully navigated through the dense canopy of the forest. Gaia marveled at the sight that unfolded before her. The Wood Elves' village was a marvel of engineering and natural beauty, built high above the ground, nestled among the majestic trees. Intricate stairs, woven with ropes and sturdy wood, gracefully interconnected the village houses and each towering tree. The architecture seamlessly blended with nature, utilizing the branches as support beams and allowing the trees to continue their growth undisturbed. The elevated walkways provided a sense of enchantment as they wound their way through the lush foliage, creating an intricate web of interconnected pathways. At the heart of the village, a spacious clearing awaited them. Gaia's eyes widened as she took in the sight of a magnificent statue depicting Michael and Vidora sitting atop his shoulder, meticulously carved from wood. The craftsmanship was impeccable, capturing the essence of their strength and unity. The statue stood tall and proud, serving as a symbol of hope and reverence for the wood elves. Just before the statue, a grand throne had been placed, meticulously crafted from the finest wood, its intricate designs paying homage to nature's beauty. The throne awaited Michael's return, a seat of honor for the one who had brought them salvation and protection. As the golden butterfly gracefully landed in the clearing, Gaia's gaze shifted toward the awaiting wood elves. They stood there, dressed in vibrant garments that mirrored the colors of the surrounding forest, holding baskets filled with an array of freshly picked flowers. Their eyes gleamed with anticipation and gratitude, for they had been eagerly awaiting Michael's return. With smiles on their faces, the wood elves approached, gently placing the flowers from their baskets at Michael's feet. The air was filled with a delicate fragrance as if nature itself had released its essence in celebration of their arrival. Gaia was moved by the genuine warmth and joy emanating from the wood elves. It was evident that Michael's presence held great significance for them, as he represented their protector, their leader, and their hope for a brighter future. As Michael stood among the wood elves, his gaze fell upon Taskin and Thilv, who were bringing Ellider towards him. Ellider, still wearing his once golden robes that were now muddied and torn from his escape, looked worn and weary. He had journeyed through the portal, passing through the forge in Demon's Grave and utilizing a special teleportation scroll that Michael had provided. The three of them, Michael, Ellider, and Gaia, wore solemn expressions, their minds still reeling from the events that had transpired during their wedding. It was unfathomable to them that a god had appeared and attacked Michael, manipulating his hands to strike down 3 seal-bearers. As Michael surveyed the village, his eyes scanning for someone in particular, he finally spoke up, addressing Taskin. "Taskin, where is Karat?" Michael inquired, searching for the village elder he had encountered before. Taskin and the others exchanged glances, a flicker of sadness briefly crossing their eyes. "He has passed away, my lord," Thilv replied with a somber tone. Michael sighed inwardly, acknowledging the loss of the old man, and silently wished for him to find peace. "Now, Taskin, Thilv, if you could leave us for a moment," Michael requested, his voice carrying a tone of seriousness. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Taskin and Thilv bowed and discreetly gestured for the villagers to give them some privacy. As the villagers departed, Gaia sank down onto the throne, feeling the weight of recent events. She took a deep breath, preparing herself for what was to come. "What's the plan?" Gaia asked, her voice filled with determination. In response, Michael accessed his system storage and retrieved 2 golden parchments. "If we are to return to our world as soon as possible and face these gods head-on, we need everyone ready and prepared," Michael explained. However, Ellider's brow furrowed upon hearing the mention of gods. Although he had come across brief references to the realm of gods in ancient texts, his knowledge on the matter was limited. Observing Ellider's perplexed expression, Michael proceeded to share all the information Nithrol had disclosed, including the startling revelation that the renowned Empress of Ar was, in fact, a fallen god. After comprehending the information shared by Michael, Ellider found himself stunned. The revelation that Michael was entangled in a war between the Pantheon and Dagon, a fallen god turned ruler of Hell, was a shock in itself. Curiosity gnawed at Ellider as he voiced his question, seeking understanding. "Why do these fallen gods wish to fight you? Are they also under the influence of the Skyhall?" he inquired. Gaia echoed Ellider's sentiment, expressing her own confusion. "I'm wondering the same thing," she chimed in. Michael pondered their inquiries, his mind analyzing the situation. "If I'm correct, these fallen gods were living among us as mortals. So if we have angered them in some way, they may seek retribution now that they have regained their graces somehow," he explained. "That 4-handed monstrosity must have something to do with all of this," she growled, her thoughts consumed by the fallen god's presence. Gaia's frustration flared as she mentioned the 4-handed monstrosity known as Dagon. Michael concurred, his gaze focused on the bigger picture. "We still lack a clear understanding of these fallen gods and how to confront them. However, until I ascend to higher levels of godhood, our options will remain limited," he stated. Gaia rose from the throne, joining Michael's side. Her concern for his safety was evident as she spoke. "But you can't face the gods alone, and we, as mortals, won't stand a fucking chance against them, even if we reach the celestial stage," she said, emphasizing the need for assistance in the upcoming battles. Ellider, observing the interaction, knew that Michael always had plans in motion. Despite the unexpected appearance of a god, which caught everyone off guard, Michael had contingency plans in place. These plans facilitated the escape of his subordinates from the island and even included strategies to confront death itself. "That's why I insist on rallying all our forces," Michael declared, lifting one of the parchments to display a map labeled with the name Itanes on one part. "This parchment contains valuable insights that will aid me in advancing to higher stages of godhood," he continued. Then he raised the second parchment, which exclusively depicted a map of the outside world. "And this one," Michael added, "holds the knowledge of energy deposits that can expedite your path to the celestial stage, along with the others." Gaia and Eladir remained unaware of the information Michael had received from the system. It provided him with instructions on how to empower his subordinates to combat the gods. Although his subordinates still had a long way to go before challenging formidable deities like the god of war, the system could enhance their abilities enough to contend with weaker gods. However, the system cautioned Michael that his subordinates were not to face the gods and should avoid direct confrontations with gods at all costs. Yet, it also assured him that once they stepped into the realm of gods, the potential for growth and strengthening through various items and tasks would be boundless. With the mortal realm now under the dominion of fallen gods, Michael recognized the urgency of developing a formidable force to combat them. To achieve this, he and his subordinates needed to venture into the realm of gods, and more importantly, he needed to pave the way. Gaia took the map from Michael's hand and carefully studied its contents before redirecting her attention to him. "But what about the fallen gods? Nithrol warned us against returning to our world until we grow stronger," Gaia voiced her concerns. "You won't be able to grow stronger while being stuck in this world?" Michael replied. Curiosity tinged Gaia's question as she sought clarification. "So what are you suggesting we do?" she inquired. Michael took a moment to gather his thoughts before responding. "You need to return to our world, maintain a low profile and search for these energy deposits. Utilize them to enhance your own strength while evading any encounters with the fallen gods. Soon, I will acquire a means to conceal your presence from them temporarily," he explained. The system had hinted that it would reactivate once Michael located another seed of darkness. With that reactivation, he could acquire a skill or rune to shield Gaia's aura from the prying eyes of the fallen gods and safely send her back to the outside world. "Good. I want to go on my own," Gaia stated, leaving Eladir taken aback. It hadn't even been a day since they exchanged vows, and now she expressed a desire to part ways. Eladir's face darkened, his emotions entwined with confusion and concern. Gaia quickly began to explain herself, aware of the impact her decision might have on Eladir. "After facing that tiny fraction of the god's power and getting my ass kicked, I know it'll only weigh him down," she began, her voice filled with determination. "The places he's about to venture into will undoubtedly be filled with threats that I, unfortunately, can't handle. Sticking by his side would not only make me useless, but it could also make me a liability, even a potential hostage against him. However, if I return to the outside world, I can make a tangible difference and provide real assistance. As much as I hate leaving his side, it's our best option at this moment. Time is precious, and every minute we waste is a minute our enemies have to grow stronger," Gaia concluded, her conviction shining through her words. Michael let out a sigh of relief, grateful that Gaia understood the situation so well. He knew that sending her off alone carried its own risks, but he also recognized the greater peril involved in obtaining the seeds of darkness. Moreover, once he stepped into the realm of gods, he would become the primary focus of the pantheon, unlike the current situation where their attention was primarily fixed on Dagon. In due time, if Gaia hadn't attained sufficient strength to battle the gods, she could be used against him, placing her life in even greater danger. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.